one, go.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the College of Complexes. This is March 7th. Thank you very much. The March 7th meeting of the College of Complexes, I call it to order. A few things that we're going to do. First of all, we're going to let Charlie go ahead and explain tonight's conversation and any upcoming conversations that we have. Take it away, Charlie.
All right, Charlie.
All right, you want to bring up the schedule, please?
I am.
While we're waiting, the College of Complexes has two rules. No personal attacks and one fool at a time. Our format is first we have announcements of events around town. Then we have our presentation followed by question and answer. Then we take a tally to see how many people want to give rebuttals, and I allocate the time, and the speaker then has the final comments. Although I am not a capitalist, I will give the advertisement for our upcoming programs. This is meeting number 3,856. In two weeks from now, on March 21st, we're meeting on a schedule the first and third Mondays or Saturdays. So on March 21st, our own Tim Bolger will be doing a presentation entitled "The Democracy Was the First Casualty," and it's analysis of the decade of the 1850s and the Trump era side by side comparison. And it's subtitled "How America Learned to Treat Losing as an Act of War." It says America is a loser. So if you disagree with that, we'll see in 2 weeks from now. On April the 4th, this should be, now for those of you complaining about money in politics and the Supreme Court decision, this organization is the one you want to attend. And it's a new group called the Political Integrity Project, PIP. And they focus on holding U.S. politicians accountable to their constituents rather than financial interests. And you got to look at three things they offer. They have an integrity index, and they offer a political integrity pledge. So if you are concerned about money influencing politics, this is the program you want to attend. April the 4th. Next one, please. Tim?
I got it.
April the 18th. This is our special Earth Day program. A gentleman called Dave Odd has a company called Odd Produce. And he gives instructions, classes. If you want to find some food, he lives in Chicago and he was unemployed and hungry. So he started looking around his backyard and lawns and things like that and flower gardens for food. So if you need to get food and free and cheap, it's free. He gives instructions on how you can find food just by looking around your backyard and have a meal in minutes. So it should be an interesting thing on foraging for food, and you don't have to go to the grocery store ever again. That leaves open May 2nd. If anybody wants to talk on a May Day topic, I've shifted the May Day program for various programs to May 16th. And we're going to look at AI in a very detailed perspective, particularly employment. And this is a Chicago-based AI company, consultants. And they're going to talk about the AI imperative and how we've got to get control of AI to save humanity. So this is a very good program if you want to know how AI is going to influence the economy and the job scene and things like that. Okay, that's May 16th. Our next program is June the 6th, in which Derek Reed will be visiting again the topic of God, and he's going to be speaking on undeniable proof of the existence of God. And if anybody wants to debate him, get in touch with me. We'll have uh, two presentations, one for and against a belief in the existence of God. We'll see what Bob's got to say here tonight on the topic. But June the 6th, we're scheduled for the undeniable uh, proof of the existence of God. And that leaves open June 20th. If you'd like to speak, I need a title and a written description if you'd like to speak. Okay, take it away, Chris.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And as everyone has noticed, Charlie addressed me as Chris, and I did not introduce myself. So thank you for reminding me on that, Charlie. My name is Chris Laurent, and I'll be moderating and delivering the topic on behalf of the good professor here, Tulane University. No kidding. We'll have to have a chat later on about this. Some of the text that I got is a little difficult to read, so please bear with me. And if I go a little slow, I do appreciate it. Okay. Before we get into the discussion, I'd like to open to any comments, public comments, or any announcements that need to be made. I open it to both online and to the room.
More PowerPoints, please. Okay. So we don't have.
Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and share an announcement that I have. As of official of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, since some of you that are more familiar with me, I was running for Cook County Commissioner for the 8th District, and the Cook County Clerk found it in their hearts to remove me from the ballot due to insufficient labeling of my paperwork for my petition. So initially when I heard that, I was very, very angry, but I thought, well, I've got a lot of pokers in the fire, so maybe it's a good thing. And maybe other avenues will open up for me, which they have. We are currently petitioning as a third party. I am a libertarian for the governor and lieutenant governor office. And I've been asked to run as a running mate as a libertarian candidate's governor race. So I will be running for lieutenant governor. As I said, that's official as of 3 o'clock this afternoon. If anyone is interested in seeing more names on the ballot and having more choices for the top spot in Illinois, I have petitions here that you're more than happy to sign your name to it and fill in the appropriate information. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and ask one more time. Do we have any comments or any announcements that need to be made from the room or from our Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed forward with the discussion. So as Charlie had mentioned, tonight's discussion is the God question, arguments for and against the existence of God. I'm reading directly from items that were handed to me just moments ago by Bob Lichtenberg, PhD, out of Tulane University. So he is going to be here, and he's going to be fielding the questions and answer portion. So this is not something I'm intimately familiar with, and I'm certain that anyone with questions will ask the good professor when the time comes. All right. So, and I'm reading verbatim here. So, per Bob Lichtenberg, PhD, I define God as the eternal and supreme sovereign of the universe.
I'm supposed to be.
Oh, are you going to do this? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I delay my last. Bob is going to come up here and deliver his colloquium. Welcome, everyone, Professor Lichtenberg.
All right.
No, he's gonna give you the water. I get you the
Oh, everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thanks for coming, profuse thanks for coming, appreciate it very much, Dankeschön. Roxy, my mother is Italian, she spoke Italian. I'm glad you can make it tonight to the One True College. I called, because it's the only one where people come to learn and not to get credentials for a professional job. That's what our colleges have become, except the best ones. There's a few liberal arts schools left, the Ivy Leagues and the Ivy League. That's about it. That's the only real college. It's a college complex, even though that's a bad name. I don't know where that guy got it from. I forget his name. Oh, I guess Freud was big at the time, making headway at that time. I've been attending the college longer than anyone else, even Charlie, who has been moderating, getting the speakers. Charlie has been getting speakers for the last 24 years. He said at the 75th anniversary we had here a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago or so. A few weeks. But I even knew Lyle de Spain, who ran the college before Charlie did, and some woman named Dorothy. I knew her too. They both ran for a long time, about 10 years each. Anyway, let's get going. Okay, what do I start out with? But you can't guess, so I'll tell you. I start out with a couple of definitions. First, I define God. I define God as eternal. Eternal means no beginning in time, no end in time. Sovereign of the universe. I'm going to be ad-libbing to my talk. And writing in things. If you'd like to write in, I have extra pens. I have a question, Tim?
No.
Okay. All right, start out with a couple of definitions. First, I define God, which is just the eternal, no beginning, no end, and sovereign of the universe, the ruler of the universe. That's God. That's my definition of God. This God is called the God of theism. And so is the concept of God. There's many others. In Eastern religion, there's a lot of different ones, but we won't touch on that tonight, strictly because of lack of time. Then there's a second definition. The second definition is the God question. I define the God question myself as asking whether or not God exists objectively or outside of our minds. It certainly exists inside. We could think of God. Well, that's not good enough. It's got to be objective or external to our minds. And that's the God question. Does God exist outside our minds? Does he really truly exist? Now, as I mentioned, there's Western religions are theistic, and they believe in an afterlife. It's an immortal afterlife. It's one where there's no end. That's what immortal means, no end. There is a beginning. Humans begin, but the theistic religions say that we won't die. We won't really be dead when we die. we have either immortal soul, which is not taught by Jesus whatsoever, taught by Greek philosophers. That's a good idea, optimistic and flattering, so called. But Jesus taught a little bit the resurrection of the body, which he did himself, of course. He had no immortal soul. That he talked about, because he's coming from a Jewish background. But please interrupt me if you don't understand something I'm saying, or maybe if you disagree, if it doesn't get too long, make it off the track. Let's see. Well, where did I leave off? Oh yeah, the theistic religions, Christianity is particular, but Islam also, and Jewish religions, much lesser extent today, believe in immortality, and humans are immortal, and they will have an afterlife, and they'll be with their loved ones forever. It will be a time of great joy, because you'll be with your loved one forever. You won't get bored with her or him. And it's kind of a stretch. I don't think I'd ever get bored of my super sweet wife. She's pretty too, but
Doesn't the Bible say when marriage will be no more? Doesn't the Bible say marriage will be no more in heaven?
The Bible says what, Sam?
Marriage will be no more.
I can't hear.
Well, let's hold the questions until after the.
We'll hold the
Oh, he
questions.
did say interrupt.
Hold the questions for later.
We'll hold the questions for later.
He did
comment.
say interrupt. I wouldn't have done it if he hadn't said it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to work. I usually try to give an outline, but that didn't work because this is subject matter is way too complicated for that. So will we be happy forever with our loved ones up in heaven? Man, that's a big question. Man, there's a lot of time at stake. There's an awful lot of time at stake. Not eternity, because only God has that, but immortality, is endless time. No end to time will be alive. Will that get boring after a while? Maybe not. But it's a lot of time and a lot of fun. Some people say, well, I'll wait to the end to see what happens. Is there an immortal afterlife? But that's too late. You wait that long, and God surely will suspect that you're not sincere in your love of God, and you gave up on the search for Him because it is so hard, because it's such a big question. God wouldn't respect that. So the God question is the biggest question that we could ask. It's also the hardest question to answer. There's a lot of stakes involved, as I said, the highest stakes. And by the way, you know it was Socrates who said, as he was sentenced by the Greeks, the Athenians, to be executed for not believing in the gods of the state and corrupting the youth, Socrates was sentenced to death. And he didn't try to get out of it, which he easily could have done because they're baloney charges. But Socrates, as he was about to drink the hemlock poison, not the tree, hemlock poison, he said, well, here I go, I'm going to die. And I'll go to heaven. I'll go and live in an afterlife. He didn't say heaven. I'll have an afterlife where I can go on examining people and raising big questions about justice, goodness, truth, and beauty. And they won't execute me for doing that up there. That's one possibility, said Socrates. The other possibility was that there'll be nothing after he dies. Not even the blackness. He didn't say that, I did. Not, but I like it. Not even the blackness. We won't even be aware of the blackness. And those are two possibilities we face at death. And that's a lot. And you know, Socrates is the first great philosopher in the West, and he raised this problem. And we still haven't come very close to answering it because it is such a difficult problem. Hard problem, but it has to be hard. If it was easy, what would happen if it was easy? What should you do? If it's easy answer, it's easy that God did exist. God truly did exist. What would you do then? Come on. Anybody? Well, disappointed. Well, if it's obvious that God exists, if it's easy to prove that God exists, I know there was an immortal afterlife, you would be completely devoted and dedicated to God because you get immortal afterlife. So it can't be an easy answer. That's a hard one. Got to be hard. All right. So when a person answers this big question about God's existence, he has to take something on faith because God is not a physical thing. It can't be proven scientifically or factually. There's got to be some faith because it's not physical. There can't be scientific proof because God's not a thing. But it's okay to have faith as long as your faith is plausible, as long as it's likely to be true, as long as you have good evidence and reasons for it. And now we get into the arguments. An argument in logic, which I taught for many years. I enjoyed teaching it. Enjoyed everything I taught, of course, but an argument is not a dispute or disagreement of words. Not that. That's not what it means in logic, anyhow. It means arguing, but not so much a disagreement. It means try to prove a point, try to prove a conclusion. So Aristotle, who wrote many small books on logic, little treatises on logic. I don't know how he stayed awake to do it, but he's the father of logic and many other studies, many other fields. So the conclusion is the point, but this point should be supported by premises. You should have good premises for your conclusion, at least one. You have more than one. It could be inductive or deductive. I won't go into that. That's too far into logic. But an argument is just a conclusion or a belief that you have, and you got evidence for it. You got some evidence for it. Okay, let's get into the arguments for God's existence. Tim, you want to show my first flashcard?
Yes.
Picture of. It's a picture of God. Image of God. Oh.
I gotta share it. There, it's up there.
Hmm.
It's gonna, as soon as I get it to full screen.
Oh,
Who took the photograph?
hmm.
Okay, there you go, Bob.
It was an astronaut.
That's an image of God creating the
Use the
universe
mic, please. Use the
from
mic.
nothing.
They were on their way to the moon.
God's creating the universe. Okay, let's look at the first argument for God's existence. First argument is that there has to be a creator of the universe.
Why?
Oh, it's Thomas Aquinas, theologian and philosopher who lived in the 13th century. He very briefly argued there has to be a first cause of the universe. For every effect, there has to be a cause. There has to be something that makes it happen. And you can see where that goes. You have to go back to the first cause. There has to be a first cause. The first cause is God. Says Aquinas. A very good reasoning there. Very concise. Has to be first cause, and this cause has to be higher than nature. Because causes are higher than their effects. Causes have more power. They have to pre-exist. Like a piece of wood has the potential to be hot, but fire has the actuality to make it hot. And the fire pre-exists the effect, but even more than that, it's greater than its effect. So it has to be supernatural. The word super in Latin means above or beyond or more than. Doesn't mean greater, fantastic. We sometimes use that one. But in Latin, it means supernatural, which is what Aquinas wrote in. And taking Latin, studying Latin for 4 years was the best thing I did in high school. And it really helped me to understand philosophy because it made abstract philosophical terms very concrete. I can't go into that right now. Okay, there has to be a first cause higher than the universe. Before the universe.
Who caused God?
Hmm?
Who made God?
Hmm?
Who made God?
Oh, you can't ask that question.
Oh, it's got to be a first cause.
Hmm? No, no, because causes are higher than their effects, and you have to end up at one
You just
cause
said
that's
there
the
has to be a
highest.
first
And
cause.
once you get to the highest, you stop. You can't ask what's higher than the highest, you know?
Man made God, didn't it?
Can we wait till the presentation's over with for questions, please?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Good idea. Okay, God is the highest cause of the universe. Okay, we move now to page
Next
2.
slide,
Supernatural.
next slide.
Yeah. Oh, I think that one's out of order. Try the next one. That's out of order too. Need one.
What's the one right there?
God creating the earth.
No.
There?
Oh, there's God. It's by Michelangelo. Michelangelo's concept of God. Michelangelo, by the way, was an expert sculptor, painter, architect who designed St. Peter's Church in the Vatican. He was a genius in all three areas: sculpture, painting, architecture. There's never been, no one else ever did that. Nobody. He's probably the greatest genius of all times, Michelangelo. Michael the Angel. But this is creating Adam. What do you need? Giving life to Adam. What you took from the dirt.
What do you need?
Add a little spittle. And Adam came to life.
Yeah, Adam's the other guy, yeah, on the left, the dude on the left.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, thank
A
you.
little more about the creator argument. The Big Bang has now been scientifically proven to happen 13.8 billion years ago, approximately. And before that time, nothing existed. There's no space, no time, no matter. Scientists can't find a thing before the Big Bang. Might have an image of that.
Is it this one or is it
I don't remember 2 hours late last night. No. It just looks like an explosion. No big thing. No. There's, no. Oh no, what that is? No. Okay. I guess no. But here, with the Big Bang, you have scientific proof that there was nothing in existence before. This has been verified by the scientists. So that adds strength to Aquinas's creator argument. That way it took 13 centuries before he came up with it. I guess they all had blind faith before that. They couldn't give an argument for God before that time. But now it has support from the sciences that the universe needs a creator to exist. All right. Strong argument. Maybe irrefutable. Next, second argument for God's existence comes from not the universe, but the earth. Well, it comes from the universe too, somewhat, certainly, but it's really found on the earth.
Is it
And
right slide, Bob? Keep going to it. Yeah.
it's the grand design of the earth. Design is a plan to survive. And all plants and all species, even the lowest of animals, are striving to survive. Now, how do they get that struggle in themselves? They lack consciousness. They can't give it to themselves. They can't try and survive. Someone has to make it survive, which is God. That's what the design argument holds. And who could doubt that the earth has a grand design, from the smallest particles of matter, smallest plants and animals, to the greatest. Um, well, that goes into the universe. Well, tiny atoms spinning around at super fast speeds. Who could design it? I mean, how did that happen? Was that always there? No, it has to be made. That's what the argument is saying. It has to be designed. There has to be a planner planning it out and making it happen on Earth. Also in the universe to some extent, because that is a grand design too. But I won't go into that. Let's stay down to Earth. Around the turn of the century, a lot of people thought that the design argument had been refuted by the theory of evolution, but that didn't really happen. Because evolution only explains how the organisms on Earth survive. It doesn't explain why they survive. They survive through a struggle of the fittest. But why are they surviving? And for what? Only God's love can explain that. Does the argument from design or the grand plan of the Earth? Anything else? Just one more point to that. Which I should have got a slide for, but didn't do it.
What slide? You want to write the right one up? Yeah,
Pardon me?
he doesn't have a slide.
The last point for the design argument is that when you look upon nature on Earth and the universe beyond it, this concept, the starry heavens above, and I forgot that quote. I shouldn't have mentioned that. But the starry heavens above and something small on Earth gives him a feeling of awe, AWE, of being overwhelmed and being touched with a bit of fear. You're overwhelmed that there was a greater power, a higher power that designed the Earth. That can only come from God as designer, because when you look on the Earth, you study it seriously and carefully, which we rarely do, of course, for anything in our shallow materialistic society. But if you would look at the Earth, and you would get a sense of just wonder, not all, but we get all. We experience all, which is more than nature evokes in us, according to Kant, who says you can't do anything. Just joking about Kant. And that's the design argument from design. I don't know if I have any slides on there. And try to, if you can find a slide
Well, which one?
on designing the Earth. No. Sorry, I didn't remember these better. No. 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 Okay, I guess I didn't, sorry. I didn't waste your time. All right, number three, the argument for God from personal experiences. A bit different too. The second argument argues that God is needed to design the universe, to make the universe. No. Make the universe is the first argument. It's the creator argument. But in the second argument, God does not create the universe. God designs it. He plans it. He gives it form, shape. That's different. Now we come upon the third argument from personal experiences. And this is called the mystical argument. Bad name. Most of our names are pretty bad. But it has nothing to do with mystery. What it does have to do with is people have experienced God. Some people claim to experience God. It could be a general feeling of being with God, or it could be being overwhelmed by God. Almost knocked over, literally. Not just being in God's presence. Well, regarding personal experiences of God, didn't Moses talk to God many times? And didn't God help Moses perform many miracles? Or are these stories for history? No, are these made up stories? That's possible. What about Paul? Paul of Tarsus, Catholics call him St. Paul. It's like they call Thomas Aquinas St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Paul of Tarsus was on his way to Damascus to persecute the first Christians, kill them. But on the way to Damascus, he was overwhelmed on his horse by God, who said to him, Saul, his name was Saul back then. He changed to Paul after this experience. Saul, Saul, why dost thou persecute me? And Saul didn't have a good answer. He had an experience of God, and then he became probably the greatest convert for God, the one who did the most to convert people to Christianity through his fiery missionary zeal. And his letters or epistles. Okay, but literally millions of people have claimed to experience God. Millions. Throughout history and currently, there's some people, very rare in the West. We don't emphasize this in the Western Hemisphere. They do in the East even today, despite the American materialism taking over. You can still go practice yoga, advanced yoga, and experience God. That's what they say they do. They're doing it today. And they did it throughout history. Experience God personally. Usually in an advanced mental state. Sometimes it could be just out, like yoga. Sometimes it could be just out in nature, feeling God's presence. Now, the mystical argument, mystical experience, You only need one case of it being true, verified. You only have to make one case. Well, only one person has to experience God for God to exist, right? To experience something that exists, um, that seems pretty obvious. I hear millions of people claiming that they experience God. They can't all be deluded. Not all millions of them. You only need one genuine case of someone who actually experienced God. All right, these are three items for God, creator, first cause of the universe is needed to be the highest cause of everything. There needs to be a divine designer of the earth because it's too amazing to have happened by chance, and millions of mystical experiences of God. Those are the strongest arguments for God. But they only represent what our puny intellects can know. I mean, that's not much. We're not very good at abstract reasoning at all. We stink at it. We can barely do it. It's very hard for most people to hold it for long. But even geniuses don't get very far and cannot hold many abstract ideas in their minds at one time. But the best we got is reasoning, thinking, and we ought to follow it where it leads. Okay. All right, I guess that's it. The arguments for. Now the arguments against. We still don't have an argument that intangibles like God exist. So, well, but the first argument against the existence of God, Tim, I do have a
Okay, what's the next?
image for this.
Which one is it?
Not much. I think it's called the presence of evil. The woman. There, that's it.
Oh, the
Go back one, please. I thought I'd find a lot of images of evil, people killing each other. And stuff,
This one right here. Right?
rape and stuff.
That's
No. Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, there you go. Oh, no. No, it's not it. Sorry.
This one.
Maybe I should go over those at the,
Which one, Bob?
I'm not remembering them. Like I said, it was late last night.
This one.
One eye.
That's God.
Presence of evil.
No.
No,
It's
That
devils,
looks like,
three
Looks
devils,
like
evil creatures.
video game.
See a lot of those online.
Yeah.
You Google them. And they come from video games and things like that.
Actually, looks like that.
But none of the real life evil. It's very hard to find. You have to be looking all night to find one of those. All right, evil. Why would God allow so much evil? Why would a good God allow evil? Evil, I define as undeserved suffering. We have a lot of bad stuff, but there's a lot of evil too. No shortage of it. For example, a young child dying, which was frequent until this century. That was the greatest evil, according to Dostoevsky, the novelist. He just couldn't understand why a good God would allow a little child to die for no reason other than disease, unsanitary conditions and that kind of stuff. It's just evil. Lovers betraying each other. Shakespeare depicts that. Lovers betray each other. Frequent, brutal wars where millions of young men get slaughtered for practically nothing. And they're doing it today, of course, in Iran. It's not millions now, but there's a lot of innocent young men dying for nothing. We've had these throughout history. That's been most of history of these two and West. Evil's predominated. And ruthless dictators like Stalin, Chairman Mao, starved millions of people just so they could bring in their totalitarian dictatorships and be in charge of that. Starved millions of people, literally millions of people. There's no shortage of evil. Why has God allowed this? The answer, the explanation, it's called theodicy. I got to name him. The theodicy is a person's solution of the problem of evil. And the most popular theodicy throughout history has been that evil is the result of free will, human free will. That humans freely choose evil. It's better that they could do that than not be free, which I think hardly anyone is. You know what it means to be free? It means you got to have your own ideas that you act on. Otherwise you're caused to do something. But that's another topic. Maybe I'll talk about that someday. I hope so. But okay, this theodicy of humans choosing evil. It's better that humans have free choice. God doesn't give us enough guidance about that, why there is so much evil in human choices. We don't get enough guidance or consolation from God. Does he ever explain why he allows so much evil? Certainly not in the Bible, where free will is not even mentioned. They didn't even conceive of free will back then. Also, there's a lot of evils that aren't human choices. They're natural evils, like earthquakes, floods, fires. Those are strictly natural. They're not moral choices. They happen in nature, killing many innocent people. My own theodicy is that God can't do it. That God cannot eliminate all evil. And we can't explain why he does. He doesn't. I don't think he does. I think he's evolving to do so, but way to go. But this goes against theism, the traditional concept of God as perfect in all ways. That's theism. Um, but that theodicy is not my theodicy. Goes against theism. Second argument against God is the vastness of the universe. And this is a new argument. Very new. And I don't think philosophers or anyone, theologians, have really responded to it. I don't know why they haven't. But it's a new argument, and I give you the date of 1998, where we discovered there's a vast universe. We did this with telescopes, electron mount. I'm not sure that's the correct term. Electronic atomic telescopes reveal to us that there's many, many galaxies beyond our own. As I say, the universe is unimaginably huge. It literally has billions of galaxies. I don't think I have a picture of a galaxy. I'll try, Tim, see if we can find the galaxy. The galaxy has 100 million stars. So there's billions of galaxies. Each one of them has 100 million stars. Some galaxies they call giants, and they have 1 trillion stars. Anyone know what 1 trillion is?
Military industrial complex.
What is it?
It's 1/24 of the US debt.
Mm.
Okay, this can't.
Well, 1 trillion is 1,000,000 millions. So some galaxies have 1,000,000 million stars. Can you imagine that? How big that is? It's just unimaginably big. It's huge. All those suns and stars. So many of them, they're actually countless. Those are all we could see with new telescopes. So the universe is really big.
More than green sea.
To say the least. But since the universe is so big, why the heck would God care about one person on Earth? It's a tiny planet. It's not even a star, much less a galaxy. Why would God care about anyone on that planet? So the universe now seems to be very cold, empty, purely natural, pointless, purposeless. There's no purpose. However, you could reply to that. You could say, the vastness reveals God's perfection. Only a perfect God can create a universe so vast. We'll get to caring later. All right, the last argument. Finally. And I think Charlie has a bit of this. It's that we can't really know that anything exists beyond the physical reality. We can't know it. I think a lot of people get stuck in facts, and all they can know is facts, and they can't know anything else. And that is a big problem. Okay. However, thinkers through all the ages, including today, have solved this problem of how you know something non-physical exists. They have solved it, starting with Plato and Aristotle. We don't have enough Socrates to say, but up till today, they still give us their views on how we can know there's something more than physical. They've done it throughout history, and they're doing it today, despite how puny our intellects are. Okay, I myself, speaking of puny intellect, I've given 6 arguments that there's more than something physical in my books, my 9 books on making meaning. Which, by the way, I was contacted by Macmillan Publisher, one of the big 5 publishing companies in the U.S. and England, English-speaking countries. They're interested in my books. I was interviewed by them yesterday, and they're going to give me another interview next week. And it looks good. The interview went good. And I'll finally be able to get my messages out to a very big audience on how to make meaning. Okay, my first argument that there's more than physical things that we can know. The first one's kind of weak, though. It maintains that there are levels, just the final paragraph on page 4. I didn't number the pages. But there are levels beyond the physical. These levels are things like the low, higher, and highest. So if there's things like mud and dirt, there's higher things like plants and animals. If there's something like nature, there has to be a higher level of reality than physical nature. There has to be something supernatural. This is called the great chain of being, and most philosophers believe there is a great chain. Sure, throughout history, they've done so. But we're ignorant of history, so we don't know. Not our fault, it's a stupid society's fault. That's why I tell my students we live in a very stupid society. My second argument.
No personal attack.
Pardon me?
Even on people not here.
Yeah.
No personal attacks.
Oh, I'm not attacking any person. I'm attacking almost everyone.
That's okay.
Only one tool at a time, so that's the only other rule. The college. All right, argument number 2, human consciousness. Consciousness is awareness, mental awareness. We have it. We could think. You have an inner voice. How the heck is that voice made inside of you? And how's it heard? How can we hear it? Amazing. That can't be done by the brain. The brain is a gooey, slimy thing. It can't be conscious of itself. It only has 40 watts of electricity. How much in the brain? How much? What kind of light bulb can 40 watts illuminate? Anyone know? Well, I'll tell you again. Not much. It'd be a very dim light. Nothing like these. These are much higher than 40. But our brain, poor brain, only has 40. It can't be conscious of itself. It's gooey and slimy, like I say. All right, 3. All right, there's higher truths than facts. For example, ethics. We know there's a moral problem. Yeah, we could have ideas like ethics about what's ethical and what's moral. You never can get that from the facts. Facts just give you like people are slaughtered, you know. That Trump likes to slaughter people, likes to kill people. You get facts like that. But people like us lefties here at the college, we say, that's unethical. That's wrong. Impeach Trump. You know. But we do have these ideas like ethics that you cannot derive from the facts. Oh, they're related to the facts. Same with justice and beauty. And they cover facts, but they're more than the facts. They're not facts at all. When you say something's beautiful or just, it's related to facts, yes, but it's much more. Even though it might be pretty weak too. Number 5. Oh, this I owe to my friend Michael Kazanjian. He in line, Tim? No.
No, he's not.
No, that's good. Okay.
Tim?
He told me about the idea of constraints. We do have constraints in our behavior. We
All right.
have,
Yeah, Bill, if you could wrap it up so we want to get to
yeah, I'm
questions.
almost done. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but it's a big topic. We have constraints in our behavior. Like it's just be wrong for me to punch you in the nose or poke you in the eye. That's just wrong.
All right, let's. I'm not gonna
You know,
do this.
that's a negative way of putting it. A positive way, philosophers have called this obligations. We have obligations to others, to respect them, and to treat them well and to help them when they need help, because our society has been unjust and prejudiced toward them. Reasons like that. So constraints and obligations we have is the fifth argument. The sixth argument might be the strongest one. I do have videos on this, visuals on this, Tim.
On,
First is photons. I do have a picture of
I'll get him up. I'll get him up.
I'll tell you when you get to it.
Give me a second.
Photon is a light particle,
That's
Give me
the
a
one with the
second.
big cone.
but light can't be matter. And
Is that the one with the big cone? The big cylinder?
no.
You know what? Right there.
Again, closer. That's one away.
Right there.
No. No. No, it's gone. Got it again. No. No. Okay. No. There you go. There's a photon. That's a particle of light. Now, how the heck can light work? I mean, is it physical? Maybe partially. But some parts can't be physical. Because matter doesn't glow by itself. You know, it has to have non-material aspects of it. All right, neutrinos. I do have an image of that, Jim. It's named there. A neutrino is a small particle. Again, very super tiny. You never perceive it with the eye. Stay though. Yeah, good one, though. Doggone it. What neutrinos do is they penetrate the earth. They can go right through the earth without thinking about it. Millions of them. Now, if that isn't intangible, what is? You know, well, there's more. I think some are better on this list of actual intangibles. There's intangibles that actually do exist. Spiritual things, immaterial things, non-physical things. That's what I'm talking about here. The Higgs boson. I think I have an image of that. Anyone know about the Higgs boson?
Yes.
Doug would know, he's.
It's what? Don.
Doug Binkley, yeah, if he were here, he'd know a thing or two.
Yeah.
Oh, the moderator had his hand raised. Sir, did you want to talk about?
No, I'm asking that we keep the discussions down. We're trying to get through this.
Yeah, because we got to get the questions.
Yeah, well, I'm on the last three. You got the Higgs boson?
No, I didn't see it in your slides.
I did say that one.
That part.
It's not too early.
I asked if anyone knew about it because it was in the news a couple years ago or so. Someone got the Nobel Prize. Oh, his name was Higgs. Mr. Higgs got the Nobel Prize for discovering that the Higgs boson exists. Nobel Prize to a scientist. You don't get many humanities. That's too lightweight stuff. Her a woman today talking about her Nobel in chemistry. Is that boring? Now what she talking about? Then they're going to talk about humanist or humanitarian. You give him a Nobel. Oh, literature. They do in literature. Excuse me. Okay. The Higgs boson gives mass to energy. There you go. You see, there was no mass before the Higgs gave it to energy, zapping around there. And Higgs proved that. He proved that his boson gave a boson, as we all grew up with. Yeah. Well, not all of us, of course, but the Higgs boson does give something that wasn't there before, mass. So before that, there wasn't mass. And this is scientific proof. Well, superstrings are cool. That's a good thing that, and that's the thing's 10.
Let's just wrap it up as soon as we can, okay? Because I mean, I want to get.
Yeah, I said I'd wrap it up, but can you show us the superstring?
I'm trying to find it again.
We got the hint.
It's lines going all over the place. 10, it has 10 dimensions.
Let me know when.
I think it's, now go back to one of those two, I think it is.
No,
Oh, it's on the screen.
Probably it right there.
See ya.
Give me a minute.
That's the one. Okay. Good enough. You see the universe depicted as strings, and these are strings creating the universe, making the universe, and only one of those strings is physical. So what are the other 9? The other 9 are immaterial, intangible, spiritual. Okay. I make some concluding remarks on the 5th page, not numbered, but summing up the argument. They all make mistakes. Those are called fallacies. I'm ending him to see him. They all have errors. They don't properly connect the premises to the conclusion. Same with the arguments for God's existence commit fallacies too. I won't go into that, but I will say that we do have a test of arguments, and it's called logic. And logic can test opinions and other types of knowledge, non-factual. All our thinking can be subjected to logical tests, and these tests can really show what ideas are better than others. Logic could really do that. So one opinion is not as good as another. You know, they're good and bad opinions. I think that's very useful to know that, because that avoids our wishy-washy relativism where we say your opinion is good as mine. Baloney. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for the attention.
All right.
Appreciate it. Well, where do I go?
Just stay right there. Speak loud, Chris.
All right, so I just got a quick commercial. Have no idea. He's right here. You can ask.
I'm 88. How old are you?
Okay, well, the first questioner will be Kelvin Milchick
Okay.
from online.
Okay. Before we get into the question and answer, I wanted to remind everyone of the tuition here. If you haven't done so already, please pay your cash tuition to Tim Bolter here. Also, another requirement that we generally have, which is an expectation, is that we grab something to eat while we're here. And when you're doing that, please remember to take care of Erica, our wonderful waitress that always takes great care of us. Those that are online, I'm certain you can make your own food. But who has the first question? You said Kelvin.
Kelvin,
We'll get
go
to you.
ahead.
We're gonna get all
Okay,
that.
I put this up before and you tried to answer it. You say there has to be a beginning for everything. Well, who made God?
Right. Hold on 1 second, Kelvin. He's a little preoccupied. Bob, that question was directed to you. Could you repeat your question, Kelvin?
Well, you said there had to be a beginning for a beginning for everything. Like, who made God? And and does God have a brother called Colin who did all the real work?
Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry, he did it in a different form. He said, who's higher than God? Well, what's higher than
Who made God? If God made, if there has to be a creator for the universe, who made God? If there has to be a creator, who made God?
That question is
Damn it.
not a good question, because God is the highest being. You cannot get higher than
If there has to be a thing before the Big Bang, because you said there has to be, what existed before God?
You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Well, no, if it has to be, there has to be. You said there has to be a thing before the Big Bang. So if there has to be a thing before the Big Bang, there has to be a thing before God. Same logic.
Respectfully, I'm going to have to ask that you let him answer the question to the best of his
Go on.
ability. If it's not satisfactory to your opinion, then you can take with it what you will. I ask that we give everybody in the college of complexes the courtesy and respect that's deserved. Okay. Bob, get you right here. Okay, so our next question, Tim, do we have someone online or do we take someone?
Kelvin was taking care of let's go to Charlie next up.
I'm going to review for the rebuttals, okay?
All right, Kelvin.
Absolutely.
All right, Charlie, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Professor, for your talk. Can you name one event in recorded history that was precipitated or caused by a god? One event of recorded history that was caused by God to take place?
None of them were directly done by God. None of them.
None?
None. Zero. Why would he even want to bother him with that?
Follow up then. So God,
wait a minute.
no influence
Maybe a
on
miracle. Miracles. But I'm sure you don't accept miracles.
Okay.
How about Moses, though? Leading the Hebrews out of Egypt. A lot of miracles are recorded there.
miracles?
Okay, Charlie, let's work the entire room. If we have time, we'll come back and you can.
I'm gonna get Ernie next online, then we'll go to the room.
So we'll tell you what, let me get somebody from the room before we go to Ernie.
Okay,
With all due
okay.
respect, Ernie.
All right,
Right
who's
here.
right?
Am I on?
Not yet, Ernie.
Not yet, Ernie. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question for Bob. I can hello. Am I on?
Go ahead, Ernie.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. I had another important event, and so I logged in a little bit late, and I think I caught most of your talk, Bob. But did you when you were giving the arguments in favor of God, when I was a young student, undergrad student in a philosophy course, one of the main things that the professor brought up, even though I think he was an atheist, was the arguments by St. Thomas Aquinas. Those used to be the standard arguments in favor of God. Did you cover those at all in your talk, and how do you feel about them? Could you summarize them just very briefly for us?
Well, I only covered one of St. Thomas Aquinas' argument, the argument for a first cause, or the creator argument. But he had four others. If you went to a Catholic college, you probably heard about Aquinas' 5 ways of knowing that existence, that God exists. And the first way is a cause. There has to be a first cause. And I just mentioned that. That was the only one. Some of his are kind of weird, so I won't mention. He does have the design argument. The other 3, wouldn't be conclusive today. We only need one good argument, and he gave us that. He gave us 2 good ones. And the other 3 are too hard for us. For me, anyhow.
Okay,
So we got right here in the room.
all right.
All the way around.
Speaking of first cause, and the Big Bang, 13.8 billion. Do I got that year right?
Yeah,
0.8 billion years ago.
approximately. It's really 13.77, something like that.
Do they have any proof or theory on what exploded and what made that explosion to be so huge?
Talking about the Big Bang.
The Big Bang, baby. That's how it all started.
Okay.
So, but how did that happen out of nothing?
The Big Bang,
13.8 billion years ago.
there's only one answer. There's an answer. The only way the Big Bang could happen is that God did it.
God dirt.
God made the Big Bang. Because there's nothing else existing prior to that, nothing.
What used to make that bomb? That Big Bang?
Bomb.
Okay.
A bomb?
What?
Dynamite?
All right.
No.
Okay, that's a follow-up.
Divine
Let's work the entire room before we get to follow-ups, all right?
Is that how it started?
All right, question right here.
Okay, can I ask my question? Okay, all right. My question, Bob, is, what religion, I mean, if any, were you brought up in, and do you practice any religion now?
I was raised as
You were raised in something.
as a strict Roman Catholic. I was indoctrinated in Roman Catholicism by good nuns in grade school and high school. In the form of religion that I practice now, is to search for God half hour every day in some form. TV, radio, books, discussion. Tonight counts. That's
Thank
my
you.
religion. That's the only one I practice.
All right, we have a question right here.
Religion ties us back. That's what the word religion means. It ties us back, and it really does. I think it ties people back from their own ideas, their own thoughts about God.
All right.
Indoctrinates them with.
Okay, our next question is right here, the gentleman.
Yeah, my view is kind of simple. I've been in systems a long time and I know what an operating system is. I look at God as the grand operating system design. And that operating system is responsible for only two things: keeping life in balance and executing a sequence if it's out of balance, just like all programs in the world. Get input, respond through a process, create. When the first organism first split and became two and created all organic life on Earth, we contain all of those experiences from our ancestry in our amygdala. And that's what brings us our instinct and our intuition. When we're born, we start getting indoctrinated into falsehoods. You know, oh, the Easter Bunny, oh, the Santa Claus, all
So-
this. And
Yeah,
we get
please get to your,
confused.
please get to the question, please.
So the question is, why don't we just face it and we're responsible for our own lives?
Oh, yeah, responsible for our own lives. That's
I have to look nowhere. I have to look inside to do the things I do.
No, I won't look.
To me, the Big Bang is just an idea.
Oh, it's an idea with a lot of proof.
Doesn't matter. Everybody has ideas. That's why the universe expands. It's
Okay.
filling up with ideas all the time.
All right, so do you have an answer for his question, Bob? And please speak into the mic so they can hear you online as well.
So
I could do. Well, what is your question?
Would you repeat your question, sir?
Loudly, please. What's your question?
well, the question is, why do people keep seeking God? I mean, Jesus even said it. It wasn't Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of Nazareth. And he said, we all contain Christ. And to find it is to find nirvana or heaven or whatever you want.
So I think the underlying question here is, why do people continue to search for God?
Why? Yeah. What's the point? Why?
Keep searching for him?
Why just not rely on yourself?
Well, yeah, but you need to look to outside ideas, thinkers. They have a lot of good knowledge and information.
Well, I mean, wrong information is prevalent everywhere right now. The fact of the matter is, we are the ones with our own words, vocabulary, create the images we look at. This is all outside. You're not out there. You're in my mind right now, and that's it. You can't fit inside my brain, obviously. So the universe is the same way. Mary Baker Eddy, when she wrote Science and Health with his key to the scriptures, she said, if God is real, he must be omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. So therefore, we live in God. So how can you see anything wrong with God?
Nothing's wrong with them. Everything's wrong with them.
Exactly. So nothing's wrong with us either, except for the way we look at
Okay,
things.
okay.
It's our attitude that sucks, not our real stuff.
Okay, we'll have a rebuttal.
Yeah, come in looking for yourself, looking on the line and deciding on yourself with the use of logic.
Because they had
I would certainly borrow from past thinkers. They've given us a lot of good ideas and arguments about God. I would take a look at those and consider them. I would be the final judge using the laws of logic. And the laws of logic are absolute. They have no exceptions. They apply to all things, at all times, in all societies. They are a good method for us to govern our thinking by.
Unless you have faith.
Okay, Kelvin, you're next. Go ahead.
Kelvin, now we've cleared the room as far as questions go. We're going to go back to our online component for second round of questions.
Kelvin and then Charlie.
All right, I'll answer that. I'll answer one of the questions that we posed earlier before about the Big Bang. The honest answer you'll get from most theoretical physicists is we don't know. We can speculate, but we don't know. Unlike religion, science doesn't make claims that it can't back up. Right? It's not based on faith. It's based on what we know, and we don't know what happened, why the Big Bang was caused. There are all various theories. You can have a look at them. Right. Number one, right, is are we still in questions now?
Yeah.
Okay. If my consciousness exists after I die, where was it before I was born?
Are you kidding? Are you joking?
No. And if I've got a soul that exists after I'm dead, where was it before I was born?
After you're
Because
dead,
you said nothing is created out of nothing.
Contained in your ancestors.
No, that's my DNA. I'm talking about my soul here. My ancestors, all my DNA dies when it rots when I die.
what happens when you die?
Well, you say there's an afterlife. Where's my before life?
Doesn't matter.
Well, we don't really know. No, we don't really know. But we have to answer as best we can. That's what I was trying to do. I think everyone should try and do that. Give the best answers that they can.
Charlie, you're next.
Yes, Robert, you say empirical evidence of a God is unnecessary, which I find rather peculiar. How can you have an assertion without any evidence? And you say, well, all I need to do is apply logic. So in place of evidence, you use this omnibus term. I believe it sounds like you're using logic as a replacement for evidence. Now, it sounds to me like you're using logic, but all you're doing are playing word games. It's much like Scrabble or crossword puzzles. Word games. Word games do not establish, are not evidence of a God. Isn't that the case? Isn't that your approach?
Wow.
Is there a question in there, Charlie?
I didn't hear one. I heard a bunch
Charlie,
of
do you have a question that you'd like to answer?
No.
All right. Moving on. Any other questions?
wow. I silenced Charlie.
Okay, hold on.
Well, you didn't answer it.
What was the question?
Are you substituting logic for empirical evidence of science? Do you think that's a substitute that's legitimate?
Substituting logic for
Empirical evidence.
evidence? No.
You lack empirical
Evidence.
evidence.
Evidence is
all I need
kind
is
of
logic.
establishing conclusions. You gotta have evidence.
You have no evidence.
Logic is just a guideline for all our thinking, all our opinions, especially. That's where it's really needed.
How do you verify using logic that your premise is accurate?
Using logic at what?
How do you verify that your premise is accurate without evidence?
Oh, same we know any truth. Scientific method is a good way if you're working with physical things. And logic's a good way for immaterial things to verify your evidence, which you ought to do. Yeah, you should verify your evidence. And,
But you don't use
try to
science.
do that throughout.
Forget it.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
We're going to move on to another question we have here in the room.
go ahead. Go ahead. Who's got the next question? You're over here.
Thank you.
All right, you have one?
One second. We got Joe.
So would you say that faith is what you base your beliefs on? It's not scientific evidence, it's on faith. No.
It's not scientific, it's not a
Faith.
factual
It's
thing.
faith.
So
Faith. You believe in faith. Faith.
Yeah, no.
No?
No, faith means trusting by God. I have a hard time seeing why God would care about the earth.
So
No,
you
faith. I believe in faith. Faith, we need faith to look for God. But it has to be a plausible faith. It has to be reasonable, rational faith. That's probably true. We're never going to get absolute truth with God. But then our existence would be obvious. But not faith. No. Well, God wouldn't do that. He's got better things to do.
all right. So we got one more question back this way.
Yeah, okay, I did have a question. All right, I wanted to just ask, okay, I wanted to ask Bob, I want to ask you about the phenomenon. You were talking about how consciousness, your argument to the existence of God. You were talking
Could you
about
speak up a little bit so they can you speak up a little bit so they can hear you online?
okay, all right.
Stand up.
Oh, you want me to stand up?
If you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, I mind, but all right. Okay, you were saying that in your argument for the existence of God, you were talking about here we go. Human consciousness goes beyond the gooey brain. So basically, so I wanted to ask you about the phenomenon of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, would this constitute a machine having the divine spark of transcendent consciousness and of God-given intelligence? So what do you think about that?
AI transcend God?
No. What I mean is that if computer scientists develop artificial intelligence, so you have a machine that's capable of thinking, machines capable of seeing with cameras, hearing with microphones, smelling with smoke detectors, and thinking with a central processing unit, and making decisions as artificial intelligence can actually do now. Does that mean that, in other words, doing all the things that a human brain does, or an animal brain, does that mean that God has given the computer intelligence?
No, God didn't give them computer intelligence. Humans did.
Okay. So then you would concede that divine intervention is not necessary to have conscious thought.
Well, I would say not conceding anything.
Let Bob answer. I want Bob thinks about this.
What I concede sorry, I got distracted, but concede that God needs to give us consciousness and what now?
No, AI is just an extension of our own knowledge.
No. I'm talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and let Bob answer. Okay,
Wait a minute.
Could you please repeat the question?
Give a rebuttal to me.
Cap, and what did I?
Later on. Okay, let Bob answer.
Sorry, I lost your question.
Okay, I was asking. Never mind. You've answered the question. Let's move on.
I did not.
Okay,
We're about to. Okay, let me take the.
Bob, sit down, and then Joey, we're going to go to rebuttals now.
Hey, I have a question.
Go
Hello?
ahead, Jake. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your talk. I got a question. My question is, what do you think about religious fundamentalism in general, and more specifically about Christian fundamentalism?
Not to plead ignorance, because I know very little about that. And that has very little to do with the God question. I think most questions about religion have little to do with God and have more to do with the church. And that's usually a bad influence on people it brainwashes them, indoctrinates them. Religions do. And so that's not really part of my talk, fundamentalism. No,
Okay.
I don't know anything about what I say wouldn't be worth your time to hear. And it's not relevant either.
We have one more question,
Oh, you
Bob.
got one more question?
Go ahead. You're on.
You have a question?
No.
No, no question.
Okay.
All right, so thank you, Bob. We'll let you go ahead and have a seat.
I'll
Once
rebut.
again, let's give it up for Bob.
All right.
All right. Our first rebutter is going to be
Oh,
Kelvin.
wait, hold on. We need to get a total count of rebuttals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have any rebuttals in the room? We got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You want a rebuttal as well?
Yeah, let Eric.
Give me 1 moment. Give me 1 moment. I'm just getting the count so we can figure out how much time each person gets. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Then
And we got one in the
Ernie, and then
one on
we have-
Zoom. All right, we've
we
got
have
a request.
We also have Ernie, and then we also have Charlie and Kelvin.
So that's 8 total by my
Right.
count.
And I
Okay.
think we go about 3 to 4 minutes each.
All right. So that being said, I'm gonna let this gentleman go ahead and take care of it because he does look a little sleepish.
Okay,
So
go ahead. You
we'll
got
get you
4
up here
minutes.
and give your rebuttal. Oh, we've already used it.
Okay, well, if you,
I'm second in line.
if I can be forgiven, I'm the most iconoclastic person in America, maybe in the whole world,
Yeah.
because, first of all, Aristides Yanibus is my name. Aristides the Just. He was the only honest politician in ancient Greece, and I try to be an honest lawyer. 55 years I've been an honest lawyer. That's why today I'm only living on $2,500 a month Social Security. I never try to see how much I could charge the clients. I always try to see how little I could charge. But I slept like a baby every night, and now I'm eating good 3 meals a day. I got my house paid off at the age of 75, and now I'm 88. Now I don't have too many billable hours left. But in my old age, I became very inquisitive about who I am. First of all, who am I? I think I'm at the age of 70. I think I'm on my mother's side. I'm Ashkenazi Jewish, and on my father's side, I think I'm Sephardic Jewish. And then I was born in Greece, like the original man in history, Pelasgos, Pelasgos. I read this about a year ago, one from a Greek author and one from a Jewish author. Now, about 20,000 years before Christ, the first man on earth was born where I was born, Arcadia, Greece, Arcadia. And I was born the same way, with no electricity, no running water, and with the midwife, and also with a little lamb. So I was born like the original man on earth. But then my dad was a World War I Purple Heart veteran, came to Greece, got married at 50. I was born. He brought me to America when I was 80 years old, and I went to high school, college, law school, and I live a happy life. And I'm very grateful to this great country because it did not give me what I deserve. It gave me much more than I deserve. And now, as far as religion, I read the Bible at age 65, and I discovered it's all a bunch of garbage. Why? Because Abraham, he pimped his wife to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh was fornicating his wife and made him rich. And then God punished who? He didn't punish the pimp or Sarah, the prostitute. He punished the relatives of the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. So then, in the last chapter I read in Revelation, it says, and the human race will be governed by 144,000 Jewish men coming from the 12 tribes of Israel. And these men will have one thing in common. They're going to be all homosexuals. because they never had sex with a woman, which by indication means they only had sex with men. And just like the great King of Kings, David, he was fornicating young Jonathan, and then the priests of the Catholic Church are fornicating little boys. So this is religion. It's a piece of garbage, and I reject it. And I did not become, after reading the Bible, I did not become an atheist. I became anti-theist. I'm the enemy of that garbage God.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go to Ernie next online.
We got people online.
Yeah, Mike, can you all hear me?
4 minutes, Ernie.
All right. I will start out admitting that I am an agnostic. I am an agnostic because I don't. Nobody's ever given me a convincing argument that there is a God. On the other hand, I don't think we can prove that there is not a God, and therefore I take the middle of the road. Admittedly, I'm leaning a little on Pascal's wager, which essentially says that the promises of the Bible may be unbelievable in some ways, but in case they're correct, we should go to church every Sunday. That's a small price to pay for the possibility that there might be a heaven after life. And I lean a little bit on that. The reason that religion became a very important and powerful part of the human environment going back, before history even, and that people believed in some cases many gods, is because man has the necessity, the mental necessity to understand things. And some things were just simply not understandable any other way than believing that there's a God out there that put everything together. Over time, as science has explained more and more of how the universe works, how we work, etc., we have less and less need for a God. And religion is suffering a little bit because of that. The people, at least in Western religions, the number of people that are participating and call themselves believers is going down. Logic, we do follow logic, and I agree with Bob on this. Logic is very important, and we usually don't accept the existence of something unless we can explicitly detect it, hear it, see it, touch it, whatever, or indirectly. We know that something is happening because, for example, you run a retail store and every inventory, there's less there than should be. That's an indirect indication that maybe there's some burglary going on or something like that. And most scientific arguments are indirect. They're not direct. They don't see atoms. They assume that atoms exist and describe their behavior based on other outside stimuli that we see. As far as believing in, one argument I have in favor of religion is that if someone believes deeply enough in a religion or a system or a court system or in the company they work for or whatever, if they believe strongly enough in that system and that it's good and real, that system and their behavior is dictated by that belief and what goes along with that belief, then effectively it exists. So effectively, God does exist for some people because a few people are really good about following all the rules, and they do it because they believe in God, and in that case, effectively, there is a God.
What's that supposed to mean?
What's that?
Charlie, let him finish.
What's that supposed to mean? Effectively exist?
Effectively exists. In other words,
does it exist or not?
We're not having a debate here, Charlie. I'd like to debate this with you, but I just want to finish my rebuttal. Which I did. Charlie, will you learn to shut up when it's not your turn to speak?
Charlie, we're trying to get through this.
Ernie,
you have 30 seconds remaining.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm effectively done.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your rebuttal. For those that are online, when you see me holding fingers up, I'm telling you how much time you have left. That being said, we have a gentleman here that's ready for a rebuttal here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now, first of all, I would really like to thank Bob Lichtenberg for giving this presentation. I think it was so let's have a warm round of applause for Bob. All right. Now, And I want to say, I have a real good friend named Doug Binkley. I wish he was here tonight. Bob was asking about him. I actually invited him to come. I would have given him a ride up here too, but he couldn't come. He had something else that he had to do, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm here. I should probably just right off the bat tell y'all where I'm coming from religion wise. First of all, I was raised Christian. I was raised in the Lutheran Church. However, these days, I tend to consider myself agnostic. I don't know whether the Christian God exists or not. I don't know whether the Greek gods exist or not either, by the way. Now, somebody talked about the problem of evil, and which is actually addressed in the Bible. It's in the book of Job, for example, which basically the explanation there is that if I remember correctly, is that the ways of God are beyond human comprehension, and so people can't really get their head around what it all means. But however, there is a religion which is nearly extinct now, known as the Gnostics, who had an explanation for the problem of evil. Their explanation is that the devil created the world at a moment when God wasn't looking. All right, so. Now, on the subject of consciousness, somebody asked about consciousness. What was a human soul doing before the baby was born? Well, the Hindus and Buddhists have an answer to that one. They say that human souls have always existed, and that they simply inhabit different bodies over time, reincarnation. Now Eris is gone. I guess oh, there you are, Eris. Okay. I just want to say that just because a man doesn't have sex with women does not automatically mean that he's gay. All right, there's a lot of Catholic clergy who actually keep their vows. Some Orthodox bishops too, by the way, are supposed to remain celibate. And all right, now, and to Ernie, I would just want to say, there's a problem with Pascal's wager. And the problem is, if you decide to bet on the existence of God, which God are you going to bet on? You're going to bet on the Christian God? You're going to bet on or you're going to bet on the Hindu gods? Which one? And then the other question is which religion? Because there's a lot of different religions, and a lot of them cancel each other out. So anyway, that's all. That's all I wanted to say. And
okay, thank you for your rebuttal. One moment. We're going to go to Charlie now.
All right. Again, I'd like to thank Bob. Again, I've been over it. I do not think that logic is an apparatus used like mathematics. Logic is not a replacement for solid empirical evidence. A few hundred years ago, we used to have truth by revelation. And then a few hundred years ago, men of thought came along and said they developed empirical science, tests and measurements of things that actually exist in the universe. Needless to say, some people have persisted in claiming intangibles exist or have corporal existence, which is not the case by any means whatsoever. Now, Ernie, I apologize, but you made the assertion that if a lot of people believe something, that it exists. Now, if I get 1 million people to believe that pixies and fairies exist, according to you, pixies and fairies exist, and that's only criteria, that's an absurd assertion. And this is the college. And yes, we can challenge ideas that come up. Also, you cannot prove a negative. You say, I can't prove there is no God, therefore there is a God. That's not the way you do it. You have the burden of proof is on the person asserting there is a God. So let's work on this, folks. I know we can do it. Anyhow, Bob, thanks a lot for coming. I appreciate the talk. We've had this before. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, we've got someone here in the room, Mike.
Bill. Uh, it was an interesting subject again. I'm kind of 50-50 on what I believe. I kind of like Mr. Aquinas saying there was initial cause. Somebody started something to get it all rolling 3.8 billion years ago. So 50% of me thinks that there was a group of guys or one God that maybe put all this together for the Big Bang to get things started. And then the other 50% of me is thinking that maybe this was all organic. All these periodic table of chemicals and things were out there around here somewhere. And all of a sudden, one day, they decided to explode just because there was all these different elements, and there was a Big Bang. And that was maybe God had something to do it, but maybe it was just the beginning of nature. But right now, so there could be a God, or there could be just organically developed. And there's proof of organisms and bodies and animals and plants adjusting and evolving, like Darwin, over time. There's proof of that. And over 13, 14 billion years, animals, plants, organisms have developed and got to the state we are in, humans. And that's how it is. And there may not be any God at all overlooking everybody, watching us all. It could be just you're on your own, boys, girls. 2 minutes left, or 1 minute left. 2. Oh, all right. Maybe there really isn't a God. It just happened. It just happened, and then things have evolved over so much time. And I mean, it's good to think good thoughts, and Christian or Jew or Hindu or Muslim have a lot of good thoughts out there and their own gods. But, so I'm happy there's some normal, feelings and good spirituality out there. But maybe there's just nobody in the heavens to be watching what's going on. So that's about it.
Okay, we'll go online. Kelvin, go ahead.
Okay, I'll try and be quick because I haven't got much time. First off, your original premise when you said you were a theist, let's take a distinction here. There are two schools of thought, and one follows on from the other, but they are distinct. There is deism. Now that's the idea that there is a creator, a divine watchmaker, if you will, right? That there was something before the Big Bang, i.e. God, and that created it, right? Now, this is not a totally unreasonable idea. I don't subscribe to it, but it has some merits. Lots of people were deists. Thomas Paine was a deist. Thomas Jefferson was a deist. He was not a theist. He did not believe in the supernatural existence of God. In fact, there is a version of the New Testament where Thomas Jefferson edited out all the miracles and all the spirituality from the New Testament. I bet most of you didn't know that one. All right. So many people like Ben Franklin, they believe that, yeah, okay, maybe there was that's one idea. Right? That's one premise. It's a huge leap. And I'm talking like me walking across, me swimming to America from England. This kind of huge. To go from maybe there is a creator of the universe to say that creator, after all the billions of species that went extinct on Earth, after waiting all the different human species that went, the Neanderthals and the Homo erectus and all the different species of humans, and they waited and waited, and then eventually He told a bunch of goat herders in the desert, illiterate goat herders, by the way. You could have gone to the Chinese and another continent. They had forms of writing, but no, he chose the illiterate ones. Okay. And he said to them, and he told them what parts of what genitals you have to cut, where you can put those genitals, and when, what to eat, who you can enslave, and who you can't enslave. Right? And all that. And so you have that idea that this divine creator gives a shit about what he created. And do you think the Ford really cares about your car once it leaves showroom? Do you think the guy from Ford's going to say, there's another one thing, like in that book, God requires worship. Why? Why on earth would a being that can create life and a universe require you worship? I mean, apparently we are made in his image, so there must be some kind of personality thing between us. God has got more bragging rights than a sibling has that donated a kidney. And yet we have to worship him. I have it sometimes 5 times a day in some religions. Are you talking about heaven and a paradise? When I look at heaven, I look at a celestial North Korea. You have to worship this being, not just for a lifetime, for an eternity. North Korea has an advantage over heaven because you can die and get out of it. Heaven does not. Heaven requires eternal worship.
10 seconds left.
Okay, 10 seconds. All right, is that it, Kelvin? All right, thank you. All right, you're
Thank
next.
you, Kelvin. We've got a gentleman here in the room ready to go.
He's a filthy atheist.
Charlie.
I'm proud of it.
All right.
Headless atheist.
Hey, Tim, I'm going to give you some book titles. If you could pull them up as I give them to you.
You want some? Okay, give me a minute. Let me get you said you got some book titles?
Yeah.
Give me a second, please.
Sure.
Screen. Yeah. It's kind of. Give me okay. Let me get a browser up and okay, I got the current schedule. What's your first? Go ahead.
Stroke of Insight. Okay, The Stroke of Insight. It was in '96. It was written by a Harvard-trained neurobiologist, who had a stroke. Okay, she lost her left hemisphere entirely of her brain, her right hemisphere untouched, and it took her like 10 years to learn how to talk again, how to walk again, how to look normal again. Okay, but from her right hemisphere, she reports this Harvard professor. Harvard reports of how she was at one with the universe. And it talks about her recovery. So Stroke of Insight, look it up when you get home on the internet. And the second book I'm going to bring up is going to be Finding the Mother Tree. If you can bring that one up. Finding the Mother Tree is a book about a Canadian lady who became a professor, who was first in forestry, then moved out of that, became a professor, and she did very, very strict scientific experiments on trees because she realized that her theory was that trees formed a network, a communicating network, where they communicated with each other and they had families. And what she did was it's a very, very large book, okay? It's mostly autobiographical about her life, but it spoke about how she would hold these scientific experiments where she would bag a tree and bag a bunch of trees in a forest that were around a mother tree, as she called it, And in that, she would put carbon dioxide that was made with like carbon-14. And what happened was the carbon-14 went from the seedlings into the ground and traveled to the mother tree, so that the mother tree had carbon-14 in it. So they were like, and her reporting, her first is that these trees form a social network. Now, and the third book I want to bring up is called The Light Eaters. The Light Eaters is a book that reports on every chapter is a new report on a report on scientists doing a study on plants. Okay, so these are all scientific studies done on plants. She calls the book The Light Eaters because that's what plants do. They eat light. And all of these studies talk about the social life of plants. So now we get into consciousness, okay? And for me, the mystery of consciousness starts like this. I'm driving down the road at 60 miles an hour, a mile a minute, and the world is flowing past my eyes at the rate of a mile a minute. And yet I remember everything that goes by. And I'm like, how does that ever happen? Because if I was just a mechanical thing, I would think that these memories have to be physical. I have to have things calm me. All these dendrites grow and all at the rate of a mile a minute. And I remember everything. Okay? So that's why I believe that there's more to life than meets the eye. Thank you.
Okay. Jake, you're next. Go ahead. Jake, unmute. You're next. Jake?
Jake? You're online?
He's online. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm on. Okay. Hi, yeah, I consider myself an atheist. A true atheist is someone who just casually believes that there is no God, but doesn't really care one way or the other. Person who calls himself an atheist is not a true atheist because he's just got another bone to chew. I'm kind of answering my own question. When you talk about religious fundamentalism, it's a very strict interpretation of the religious text, and in an extreme form, it can become a political force. And during the Middle Ages, and even to today, in places like Iran, just as an example, you have religious law. You have religion essentially serving as an extension of the state. It happened all through the Middle Ages. It happens, as say, in Iran with the Muslim fundamentalists. It happened in Spain, as an example, with the Spanish Inquisition. They were targeting not only the Jews, but they were targeting the Muslims, because during the Middle Ages, the Muslims ruled Spain. Ironically, the Jews and the Muslims got along fine in medieval Spain. Particularly in Andalusia, an area in the southern part of Spain where Christians, Jews, and Muslims lived and worked in peaceful coexistence for over 1,000 years. I've heard music from that period, and I've seen documentaries on that period. Anyway, that's all. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say. When you're talking about science, this is a secular age, and our scientists and our physicians have become our gods. They've replaced our gods, I should say. And all I want to say about that is that that's all relative. Sometimes the scientists and the doctors are right, sometimes they're wrong. They don't have all the answers. And I guess when I call myself an atheist, What I really mean, I'm a professional skeptic. I doubt everything, and that's why I say I'm doubtful of God, but I don't really care if there is a God one way or the other. That's all I have to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Next up we have Tim.
All right. I think you guys are forgetting all about the most important part of God existing. And I would like to briefly present the case that persuaded thinkers like C.S. Lewis, Billy Graham, Fulton J. Sheen, and a mathematician by the name of Ivan Panin. Their conclusion was remarkable. Belief in God is not irrational. In fact, it may be the most reasonable explanation for the evidence around us. Let's begin with C.S. Lewis. Lewis was once an atheist and a professor at Oxford, but he studied the world around him. Something began to bother him. The universe seemed too ordered to be accidental. Everything operates according to laws of gravity, motion, chemistry, and physics. These laws are precise and dependable. If you find a book, you assume there is an author. If you see a building, you assume there's an architect. And the universe runs on laws. But Lewis believed the strongest evidence of God was not from the stars from above us, but it was inside us. Across cultures and centuries, human beings share a sense of right and wrong. We believe in justice. We believe in we believe in justice. We admire courage. We condemn cruelty. Let me ask you something. If someone cuts in front of you in line at a store, what's the first thing people say? They say, hey, it's not fair. Think about that phrase for a moment. When we say that's not fair, we are appealing to a standard of fairness that we believe everyone should follow. But we also know something else. Every one of us breaks that same standard. We lie, we act selfishly, we fail to live up to the very moral law we believe in. Lewis said this was truth, revealing two truths at once. There must be a moral lawgiver, and we are guilty of breaking this law, and that God calls this, and God calls this sin. As Fulton Sheen explained, Christianity is not simply about humanity searching for God. It is about God searching for humanity. Centuries before Jesus was born, the Hebrew scriptures described the coming Messiah, a suffering servant who would bear the sins of others. And then the history records the arrival of Jesus of Nazareth. The evangelist Billy Graham often said that Christianity ultimately stands or falls on one event, and that is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus was publicly executed before Roman authority. He was buried in a sealed tomb, yet 3 days later, that tomb was empty, and hundreds of people claimed to see him alive again. These witnesses gained no wealth or power from the testimony. Instead, they were imprisoned, killed. Why would people willingly suffer and die for something they knew was a lie? Something that happened that transformed these frightened followers into fearless witnesses. Christians believe the resurrection proves Christ's sacrifice on the cross was not a defeat but a victory over sin and even death itself. When we step back and look at the evidence together, a striking picture begins to form. The order of the universe describes a creator. The moral law inside us reveals the problem of sin. History points to the resurrection of Christ. But the most important truth is not simply the evidence. It is the message behind it. The message is that God, who created the universe, did not suffer or abandon humanity. According to Christianity, God entered history in the person of Jesus Christ, carried humanity's sin on the cross, and defeated death through the resurrection, which leads us to one final question. If the resurrection is true, then Christianity is merely not a philosophy. It is a story of God stepping into history and rescue his creation. By that means, the most important question in any of us is not simply does God exist, but rather, what will we do with the evidence and with the invitation of his love? And Billy Graham often said, God proved his love on the cross, and the resurrection proved that love is stronger than death. Thank you.
Thank you, Chich.
All right.
My fault.
Okay, we've got a first timer to the college coming up to,
Yeah,
to
and
give a
I'm-
rebuttal as well.
My apologies, I ran a little over.
Oh,
name is-
nonsense.
I came to Chicago when I was 10 years old from France. 8 years later, I was programming computers at LaSalle Bank, converting them to their first computer. I graduated programming school the day Kennedy got shot. Did that for 3 years, went to Vietnam for a couple of years, went back to LaSalle, started selling, went to Saudi Arabia for 2 years to develop systems for the kingdom. Took a 45-day trip around the world, found out that everybody's the same, except for the way they look at life. God, no God, so what? The point is we all are having to deal with day-to-day things, forgetting that we're the one that create our own problems. We've been indoctrinated. This book that Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor wrote, Stroke of Insight, it's one of my books because I had the same experience when I was in California. So all of these things to me are just wondrous. If you know anything about Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yes.
you know, survival security society, you have to break out of that third one. Get off the social circles. That's where the carousel is. Evolution is a circle that has a gap, so it cannot make the same circle again. Everything that grows, Fibonacci sequence, when a tree starts leaving in the morning, it goes 1 leaf, then 2 leaves, then 3 leaves, then 5 leaves, then 8. Everything grows according to Fibonacci sequence, including snail shells, sea life, whatever. Here's the truth. There's only one thing you need to know about. There's no sin. Everyone is born perfect, and then they get muddled up with well-meaning parents and peers. Everybody's always doing the best they can under the circumstances. There's only 3 circumstances: time, space, and your understanding of how to use it. There's only one day. The Power of Now is something that you should read. Mary Baker Eddy's book, Science and Health. Leonardo da Vinci learned to see everything is connected. And right now, we don't have the only artificial intelligence there is. It's called the human ego. Intelligence is not owned by anything. Intelligence is God. That's all.
Okay. All right, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much. For closing arguments, I'll invite back up to the podium Dr. Bob Lichtenberg. Closing comments?
Thanks for coming.
He's all the way in the back seat, in the back of the room, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get him up here. But just a quick reminder.
I'll be back.
We do have some openings in the schedule, but our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from today, or rather, it is April 4. It's going to be the Political Integrity Project, which I do plan on attending and hopefully moderating. Hopefully, Charlie and Tim will let me continue to do that.
Yeah.
But
You're gonna be moderating me next time.
just so everyone knows, we've got plenty of great engagements coming up. So back to the podium, I welcome Dr. Lichtenberg.
Okay.
I only have a few comments, almost time for us to leave. I appreciate all the remarks made. Public forum is good. It's great. The way it should be. People speaking up for their own lives, having their own views. rather than voting for Trump. I have been diagnosed as having Parkinson's disease. That's why I'm having a hard time walking. But next month I hope I'll have deep brain stimulation. It's a new surgery. Might take care of most of that. Agnostics. Ernie said he was an agnostic. I'm not sure if you can be in regard to the God question because it's too important for you to say, well, hell no, dude. Show me the evidence, let me see something. It can go either way, cliches like that. Then they live as atheists. They don't believe in God, they don't do anything regarding God, probably don't even think about God. But there are exceptions to that, not many. Let's see, atheism. I don't know how you can conclude that after you see so many strong arguments for that. They're trying to antagonize people. Trying to be obstacles, trying to get under people's skin. Okay, you could say, so what? He's going about all this. You're just saying you don't give a you know what about him. And you can say that about anything. But again, the God question is much too important for anyone to ignore and for anyone not to spend every day searching for the right answer. It could go either way. But it's much too big to ignore. You would not be an authentic person if you did not ask the God question daily. Okay. Thank all of you for coming and for listening so long. Dr. Shane again, Grouchy again. And go home and listen to the Midnight Special. Folk stage, great music, marvelous music. On FMP. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I'm going to give a quick closing remark. Sometimes the big thing God says is that he must be worshipped. But I think in a lot of cases we have to worship these guys. Let me find out here.
Hello?
That's all we
All right. Well, with that, I want to first of all thank once again for the finality of the evening to Professor Lichtenberg for that stimulating discussion. I want to thank everyone that's attended, both online and here in the room. And with that being said, I hereby conclude meeting number 3856 of the College of Complexes adjourned.
Okay, Charlie, did you want to take over the chat for a while or not?
Yeah, I'll talk to that atheist.
All right, I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna make you host.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna exit. Have a good night, everybody. Take care. It's nice seeing all of you.
Who's speaking next? Oh, who's the next speaker? It's on the 4th, right? April 4th?
Just said.
Hello? April what?
The Integrity Project.
Oh, okay. Okay. Who's ahead? Who's in charge of that?
Joe Blow.
Okay. All right. Hello?
Yeah.
Anybody else on?
Yeah, I'm on.
There used to be a what? Is Ernie there? Is Ernie there? I don't know.
Yeah, man.
There used to be.
Basically, I'm here.
There
Go
used to be. Oh, you are there. There used to be a theater festival, an annual theater festival called the Abby Hoffman Died for Your Sins Theater Festival. It went out of business several years ago because it started off as a fundraiser for this theater, and then once it got going, it took on a kind of life of its own. Fortunately, it went out of business several years ago because the theater that was sponsoring it, the Mary Archie Theater Company, went out of business due to a condo conversion. They could have moved, but they've been there. They'd been there for 30 years, and Rich Kotowski, their CEO, decided just to close them down.
Well,
So,
it didn't go out of business because everybody did die for their sins.
Say again, what? What?
Well, it didn't go out of business because everybody did die for their sins.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Yeah. Couldn't hear you. Say that again.
You were saying about Pascal Wager. The guy that's one big refutation, or that many bets. Something like 6,000 gods and religions, Ernie, right? So which one are you going to pick? The other one is that you can't fake belief. You're up against omnipotent, omniscient being. You can't walk into church and just sing the hymns and go through the motions. It doesn't work like that, right? You can't choose to believe, right? You got because it's the safest bet. And the third one is, have you actually looked at what happened to Pascal after he took up religion? He was probably the most premier, top-notch mathematician of his day. He took up religion, and he didn't publish a thing after that. His career went downhill. All he wrote about was theology and rubbish. So Pascal is so flawed that you can use Pascal's logic on other things like whether or not to wear a mask during a pandemic. We don't know 100% it's going to do any good, but on the chance that it will, you do. Well, anyway, that's Pascal's wager.
Bob is wrong about the Big Bang. He says there was something, he tells us what happened before the Big Bang. Now, according to the rules of science, no scientist will tell you what existed before the Big Bang. That's not allowed. That's not valid.
No, they speculate. You can speculate, but that's all. But everything, that's what it is. It's just speculation.
Yes, it's pure speculation, which is 50 cents, and speculation will get you a cup of coffee. No scientist will tell you in any fashion, though, what the world was like before the Big Bang.
Well, no, but it breaks the question. Was there, if time didn't exist before the Big Bang, there is no before. If time is created in the Big Bang, there's no before.
We don't know. We don't know what.
I said, if time was created in the Big Bang, there is no before. Because there was no time. How can you have a number? It wasn't a negative time.
Well, that's a theory, but it's not tested.
No.
And you can have loads of theories.
Yeah.
You know, the world existed of strawberry ice cream, you know.
Yeah. Well, as I said, the answer is we don't know.
And we cannot know.
Well, I would say we cannot know. Then we may come a time when we figure it out. we don't know what we don't know, what
Right
we'll never
now,
know.
right now, that's the finite limits of
Well,
our
we
knowledge.
don't know what we'll never know.
And then
Because we don't know, we don't know the limits of our
you've got to be careful
understanding.
about attributing existence to intangibles. Truth, beauty, justice, love. You know, we learned from Tim. Tim was talking about culture. A lot of this is just cultural transmissions.
Yeah.
That's all they
Well,
are.
no, I mean,
Sure. It is cultural.
Any study of game theory will show you that there are traits in nature that tend towards ethics. Antelopes grooming each other and taking ticks off the back. There is, animal grooming, symbiotic relationships, all those kind of stuff. There is the elements of ethics in evolution.
They call it mores and norms.
Yeah.
And you can go into anthropology and every
what works for the herd. If you read Richard Dawkins' Selfish Gene, why does a bee sacrifice itself for the good of the hive? Why does a lion another lion's cubs? That these are all explainable in evolutionary terms, in the Selfish Gene terms. But
that's a different thing.
A bee will sacrifice its life if the hive is attacked by a wasp.
Those guys are trying to disprove Darwin.
No,
Richard
Dawkins.
Who's trying to disprove Darwin?
Darwin trying to disprove Darwin, right? A bee will sacrifice.
Who's trying to disprove Darwin?
Charlie was wrong. Charlie's wrong.
Evidence.
A bee sacrifices itself for the good of the hive, right? Altruistically. That is explainable by evolution. That is explainable by Selfish Gene, right? And you have the beginnings of ethics in purely mathematical, it works, evolutionary terms. There's no need for a higher consciousness to impose that ethics on that bee. It's what worked for hives.
What they said, Jake, was, guys, Darwin is based on competition. Darwinian.
What do you mean?
It's based
what do you
on
mean
competition. The strongest.
In what way?
The strongest survive.
Okay, I got you.
Not necessarily the strongest. Sometimes some evolutionary tracts, right, lead to bad ideas. If you look at for example, the turkey, right? What survives amongst the turkey is the most beautiful male birds. So the females choose the most beautiful male birds, and they end up there, they can't even fly, right? So you look at the giant panda. The giant panda starts off as a carnivore and then works itself right down to an evolutionary cul-de-sac where it's only got one food source and reproduces every sort of 3 years, right? It's an evolutionary cul-de-sac. So it doesn't always work out. That's the point about evolution. It goes down tracks, and if it doesn't work, they die.
But in nature, Jake, there were instances where a bird the eagle comes and one of the bird will squawk and warn all the other birds in the flock. And they are able to escape, but that bird gets eaten by the eagle. And they said, now Richard Dawkins came up with another thing. He said there's a selfish gene, but is there evidence of cooperation in nature? And there is.
I don't know.
Yes,
okay.
there is.
Okay.
And that's where our mores and norms counter that.
Yeah.
Because
that's for what? That's for what?
Mores and norms.
Oh, okay. All right.
And you begin with a tribe, and you evolve into a village. And
Yeah.
anthropologists study these. All kinds of
Yeah.
rules. Like Tim didn't understand that even the most primitive tribe has some sort of rules and
Right.
punishment also for like cheaters.
Well, also what he was saying is everything is ordered because of God. Well, you have say just an example, a hospital or a library is very well thought out. That has nothing to do with God. That has to do with the people who are putting the thing together.
Yeah, you're entirely correct. Well, you're getting into design arguments. They say things like the human eye is too complex for evolution.
What do you mean?
It's too complex. Too many variables would have to come about in order to end up with a human eye.
I don't know what you mean. What does that have to do with anything?
That's just plainly not true. You can have an organism, you can have something like an amoeba that's light sensitive, and that increases its chances of survival. And that light sensitivity gets better over generations, and eventually it becomes some form of membrane that can distinguish more than just light and dark. They can distinguish shapes and distinguish predators. This is blatantly not true. Evolution easily explains how we end up with a human eye.
Well, they're called senses. The 5 senses are very important to any kind of animal.
Yeah, well, we now classify there's a lot more than 5 senses.
Well, I don't know if there are more than that, but
well, there's pain, for example. There's heat and cold.
That's whatever. I'm not an expert on it, but the development of the eye is central to evolution. The creature's got to see.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, an animal that doesn't develop good vision, if there are predators, isn't going to exist. You know, very simply. So that's kind of the design arguments. You know, but mores and norms normally involved in a culture because people need some kind of basic rules to cooperate, you know, and everybody agrees upon them informally. And that doesn't mean there's a God, or, you know, you break these rules, they're not made by God. They're made by people getting together and, you know, coming up some methods of getting along. So that's all. You know, you raised a good point. I don't fully understand why a God who can create 200 billion planets would need to be worshipped.
I mean, it's almost as if we didn't worship them, they'll stop existing. Maybe there's a celestial retirement home somewhere where Zeus and Thor and Ra are bitching about Aphrodite and how much she's let herself go. You know, I don't know. You know, if we stop worshiping, maybe they stop existing.
And then Bob firmly believes in the afterlife, which there's no evidence whatsoever.
Well, you know, whatever gets you through the night, it doesn't mean it's right.
You know,
sure, it's pure conjecture. It's pure conjecture. We don't really know one way or the other.
Well, they make
I don't know if you've heard this one, but an old Jewish guy dies and goes to heaven, and he meets God, and he tells God a Holocaust joke. God doesn't laugh at the Holocaust joke, so the old Jew looks at God and says, "Oh well, I guess you had to have been there."
Well, what was that?
The old Jew tells God a Holocaust joke. God doesn't laugh, And the old Jew says, well, I guess you would have had to have been there.
You don't have to what?
I guess you'd have had to have been there.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. I gotcha.
The other thing is, Tim raised the issue of the resurrection, which is the least agreed upon concept of Christianity. There's no agreement. Yes, there's no agreement on the resurrection. You have to realize that these were collective stories, and they were carefully edited, and they were written 100 years after they took place, and they crafted stories. They did it for Buddha too, all kinds of stories, you know, and there's no historical validity that you can say with any degree of assurance. You know, it's just stuff, you know, no one was there recording things. No one had a concept of history or biography. They didn't know, you know.
Well, no, they did. I mean, there were Roman chroniclers, and you know,
not really.
You know, no, I mean, you know, they recorded the events of Alexander the Great and recounted them. They did have history of sorts.
Well, I don't know.
No, there was a sense of history. No, it's a fallacy to think of ancient peoples as not having the same intellectual capacity as us. We just didn't have the technical. They didn't have the technical or the scientific capacity, but they certainly had the same intellectual capacity.
I don't think they had editorial policies that had.
Well, no, there was chroniclers.
You know.
No, there were chroniclers at the time. Josephus was a chronicler of the time.
I mean, they also have description, Calvin, of events like there were celestial events when Caesar died. Recorded. You know, that's.
Well, yeah, I mean, all right, but the thing is, Charlie, this is the point. There were chroniclers like Josephus around at that time, and there's no big mention of Jesus in those chronicles.
There's no mention at all. No mention whatsoever.
This was an obscure Jewish cult.
Very obscure.
Yeah. Oh, you mean when Christianity first started? It's just an obscure cult. Yeah.
There's no reference whatsoever outside of the.
There's
no document that talks about Jesus.
There's a theory. I don't know. There is.
Oh no, the Old Testament doesn't say anything about Jesus.
Well, it's prophesied to a degree in Isaiah that the Messiah will be of the house of David, etc., etc. You know,
right? Isn't Isaiah in the New Testament?
Oh, Isaiah's in the Old Testament.
What?
Old.
Oh, that's in the Old Testament. I didn't know that. See, I've never studied it. My father.
It's prophesied. That's why when you go through if you go through the New Testament, they'll go through through Jesus' lineage all the way. In one case, all the way
I can't understand you. What?
And David. And
Say again. What?
If you go through the New Testament, they will go through Jesus' lineage to prove that he was of the house of David, because it was prophesied.
Okay. Now, my father grew up speaking Yiddish, but he wasn't religious. He always thought the religion was a bunch of hocus pocus.
Yeah. My dad said.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can make exactly the same cases for religions, whatever that religion is, as you can for the support of a sports team. It's tribal, it's geographical, it's cultural. You become a supporter of whatever sports team you support because of your tribe, mostly your family, your geography, etc. It's the same reason, you know. If you if you look at, say, for example, Charlie was talking about the Big Bang, right? You asked physicists what was the cause, what was the likely cause of the Big Bang, right? You're going to get different answers all around the world. But it's not going to depend on where you were born and who the physicist's parents were, right? But if you're talking about religions, if you go to Islamabad and ask what is a religious truth, and then go to Malta, to Valletta in Malta, and ask what is a religious truth, you're going to get two different answers because of the tribal and cultural norms. Or if you then go to China and ask that you're going to get another answer, right?
Islamabad.
So you've got religions are tribal and culturally based.
Sure. During the Soviet Union, they tried to outlaw religion. Eventually,
that's a policy. Stalin. No. Stalin. Look. Before the revolution in Russia, the Tsar was a god. It was an emissary of God. You think that Stalin would give up that kind of devotion, a chance for that kind of devotion?
Okay, can I just finish what I was saying?
They support the Russian Orthodox Church to the will of the state. The Orthodox priests were the biggest informers for the
I can't understand you. Can I finish what I was saying? When during the Soviet Union, under Stalin particularly, tried to ban religion. Can I finish saying what I'm saying? They found that they couldn't effectively ban the Russian Orthodox Church because it was just too much a part of the culture.
No, they supported it. The biggest informers for the KGB were the Orthodox priests. You don't think Stalin would give up an idea of a population worshipping the leader like a god? No, they took on that religion lock, stock, and barrel and encouraged it.
Yeah.
They didn't try and ban it. On the contrary.
Yeah.
The only thing I know is I think they did come down on it, but they let up during the war because they thought the people needed it.
Yeah.
So they lightened up. They had no use.
I think if you go into this, Charlie, you'll find me wrong.
Those Bolsheviks had no use for religion. I mean, they were murderers. But during the war, I've read, they lightened up on religion. They thought it would give the people some hope at a time of distress, But it was ridiculous to the extent that under the Tsar and his wife they were nuts. They were like religious to the nth degree. The things that woman in particular, and that's why they brought in that crazy monk, because they believed in miracles and all this kind of thing. So they were willing to even listen to a crazy monk that other people said, wouldn't listen to him. But
what did the monk say? What did the monk say? It was crazy.
Well, he had all kinds of things to protect their son, who was a hemophiliac.
Yeah.
He thought he could cure the kid and stuff like that, keep him alive.
Miracles, right?
Yeah, so she was the mother was vulnerable to, yes, here's a guy who will keep your son alive. He's got special powers, He can pray. His prayers are very powerful, they say. His prayers are very powerful. So they said, we better get to know this guy because our kid is pretty sick, So
Yeah.
people like that are vulnerable. And she was,
Well, plus the fact that he was shagging his Arena as well.
yeah, he wasn't,
Yeah.
he was not an ethical guy.
Who? The czar?
Rasputin.
The monk.
Rasputin.
Oh, okay.
And
Anyway.
partly why people lost faith in the czar. They said when he starts listening to idiots like this, we're in trouble.
Yeah, maybe it had something to do with the fact that people were starving and they were giving each other Fabergé eggs.
Yeah,
let that be a warning to the fact that you got the likes of Elon Musk becoming the first trillionaire, and you've got people living in the streets of your cities. This is not a healthy way for a society to be.
I think the thing that done Nicholas in was the fact that he wanted his son to inherit the same Russia that he inherited with the same power.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't give in to any sort of democratic legislative activities.
Who is this you're talking about? Who is this you're talking about?
The czar.
Yeah, right. Sure.
And he didn't give in on any, like here, there's a merchant class, a business class, and they're not inclined to take obedient like peasants. They're not peasants. They want to have some influence on rules and economic rules and things like that. And he said, no, I'm in charge. So it was not like Western democracies all had legislative assemblies and parliaments.
Sure.
Constitutional monarchies.
Yeah, like the United States are here, Russia in 1900, nothing,
Right, sure.
Our absolute word, and then he was an idiot on top of it in many respects,
Who, the czar? The word czar means
king.
It's short for Caesar.
Yeah.
The czars saw themselves as an extension of the Roman emperors.
There's a good book called Nicholas and Alexandra, if you like historical. What? Nicholas and Alexandra.
What? Oh, okay.
And it's a good book. Tells you what went on. And the Bolsheviks were afraid that there would be a movement to bring back the Tsar. So they said, maybe we better kill him.
I see. That's right.
Yeah, they thought there'd be people who would try to bring back the Tsar, and they were right. They were, so that's
my sister put it in an interesting way. They didn't need a Bolshevik revolution. What they needed was a good czar. Lenin became the good czar.
What's that?
She said the Russians didn't need a Bolshevik revolution. What they needed was a good czar. Lenin became the good czar.
Yeah, he did offer them what did he offer them? Bread and land.
Yeah, right.
Do you know what's better than a good ruler, right? A good bureaucracy. If you look at the most longest lasting empire, not the biggest, the longest lasting empire that we've known, that was the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire lasted over 1,000 years, right? And one of the reasons why is because it had a superb bureaucracy. They had good leaders, they had bad leaders, they had drunken leaders, they had great leaders. But the bureaucracy was so good that it maintained that empire for over 1,000 years. It didn't end until 1920.
Yep. Anyway, what time is it, by the way?
8:08. Actually, we have to spring ahead an hour, so it'll be 9:08.
All right. We lose an hour tonight. That's right.
Oh, you guys do it earlier, don't you?
Spring ahead 1 hour.
Yeah,
Right,
well, I'm
right.
still on Greenwich Mean Time, and we've got it 2 weeks before we change ours.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Who would you rather be flying a plane? A theist or an atheist?
What?
Who would you rather have be flying a plane? Muslim, a Christian, or an atheist?
No, the atheist.
Wait, I didn't get your question. What?
Who would you rather? Oh God, am I going to repeat everything 3 times? Who would you rather be flying your plane? A Muslim, a
flying
Christian,
a
or an
plane.
atheist?
Oh, Muslim or Christian? I don't know. Someone who's good at flying. Why do you ask?
Because
what's the point?
The obvious answer is an atheist. You don't want anybody that believes in life after death flying your plane.
Oh,
You want
okay.
somebody when it's you want somebody who believes that death is final.
That death is what?
Oh.
Death is final.
Final.
Oh, vital. Oh, okay.
Final.
I gotcha.
Final.
Okay. Yeah. All right. All right.
Yeah, it's.
Now, what you want? The person you want flying a plane is someone who's just good at flying a plane. I don't care what religion. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I say this? I'm going to try and say it slowly so you can hear, because I'm sick and tired of repeating myself.
Okay.
If the concept of life after death had never existed, would the attack on the Twin Towers have happened?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Anyway, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you guys all want to go, or we'll hang around.
Yeah.
The thing about religion is, it gives you a package belief system. It gives you a cosmology, and God creates the universe, and that's all you need to know. You know
what? I'm glad he's. I mean, he was a nice guy and all like that, but it was got really be hard to have to shout and repeat myself all the time. A few years ago, about 30 now. I went to Jerusalem. It's a bit weird being an atheist in Jerusalem, but
yeah,
this is the impression I got, and I don't. You guys might shout me down for this. They say you're nobody in Chicago until you've had somebody rubbed out. That's okay. I don't know. It's a reputation Chicago has. I looked at Jerusalem and I realized you were nobody in that town unless you put a kid on an altar. Right in the middle of Jerusalem is the Dome of the Rock, and that's allegedly where Abraham went to sacrifice Isaac. All right? And you look at all those religions, and each one of them at some point in time has put a kid's life on the line, has sacrificed a child. Whether it's Catholics denying condoms in age-driven countries, or at some point in time they killed a child. Every one of them.
Well, infanticide is, yeah, there's something very pernicious in the heart of Christianity, is that one person takes on the sins of the community. They're the sacrificial lamb, and it's a very dangerous concept.
Well, no, but I mean the whole Abraham covenant starts off with Abraham willing to sacrifice his son on an altar.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they concocted some sort of, that's what I mean, universe that, sacrifices are not necessary in the first place. Atonement is a big thing. And sin and atonement, I guess there's some psychological benefit to saying that your sins are absolved. Everybody commits mistakes,
Yeah.
It does give some measure of relief. I hate to say this, but some people have a lot of tragedy in their lives.
Yeah.
And religion is very comforting for them.
Yeah. I mean, whatever gets you through the night.
Yeah, it's a type of medication that people have personal tragedies. But in the end, everything will be corrected. There's a reason it happened. Why me? Kind of things, life, it is. It's why did I get this illness? Things like that, some way of giving, but it's whether or not it has questionable of validity. If these explanations they're like defense mechanisms,
Did you ever did you ever see that movie with what's his name? Ricky Gervais, the man who invented lying.
The man who did what?
Invented lying.
No.
No, if he has a bang on the head and he wakes up in a parallel universe where nobody has ever lied, that the concept of lying just doesn't exist. Right? I mean, he goes to his bank and says, "Oh no, I've got £50,000 in the bank." He says, "Oh, I purely believe him because nobody ever lies." And then his mum's dying, and he casually mentions that, okay, you'll be okay, you go to heaven. And the nurse overhears it, and it becomes an entire religion because he invented this idea of heaven just to make his mum feel better about dying.
Well, that's the problem with the categorical imperative of Immanuel Kant. Like here, you come up with the rules, thou shalt not lie. But again, you give the example, what if the Nazis are knocking on the door looking for someone? Should you say, well, he's not here,
Well, that's the problem with any hard and fast rule.
Then you're getting into.
For example, okay, you guys have a written constitution. Britain does not. Okay, so you have a concept like the Fifth Amendment, right? That says you cannot be compelled to give evidence against yourself, right? Which is not a bad idea. But if it's a hard and fast rule, what happens when you get stopped for DUI? Are you going to not be able to prosecute a DUI because of the Fifth Amendment? This is not for the good of society. So your hard and fast rule, you have to make exceptions.
Well, that's kind of wide open. That's,
No, it's a problem whenever you make a hard and fast rule. There's exceptions to all rules.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that,
No, I mean, that's whenever you put a hard and fast rule, thou shalt not. That is, or thou shalt. It's.
Well, you're saying
life is a lot more complicated than that.
Then you're falling into situational ethics.
Yeah.
And then you've got to be careful because once you get into situational ethics, it's very easy to turn a wrong into a right.
Yeah.
And a right into a wrong. It's very, most of the time, people take a wrong and make it a right. Because that's what they want to do. So telling a lie is okay if it saves somebody from the police, who are,
or when she says, "Does my bum look big in this?"
Yeah. So, there's another thing we didn't look at. Religion has a lot of theater and pomp and circumstance, and they also have something. We didn't have enough time. You didn't give a very good talk. There's something called the priestly class, and you got to watch out for those guys, they can be very dangerous, like in the Puritan colonies.
Yeah.
They were idiots, Salem and all that.
Oh well, the whole another kind of myth is that they came over for religious freedom. No, they came over so they could persecute that religious autocracy. It only took them a year or so to hang a Quaker woman for being a Quaker.
Yeah, you mentioned that. They were very intolerant. That's the famous statue of the Puritan, Well, H.L. Mencken said it best, that somewhere there's a Puritan who's upset because somebody's having a good time, against the rules to ever have a good time. You must be doing something wrong,
Do you know there's a cave in Scotland where over 200 men, women, and children who were Baptists were burnt to death by Presbyterians.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been one religion getting another, but your country's pretty secular these days. I read,
Yeah, which is surprising considering we do actually have an established religion. Actually, it's not because careful what you wish for. The evangelicals who want to bring God and religion into schools. I had a state education, but that consisted of morning assembly every morning with prayers and hymns and such, like a one lesson a week, compulsory throughout the country of religious education. And that's the reason why. And that's the reason why. But at least over 50% of the UK is either agnostic or atheist.
Well, you have a state religion,
Yeah.
Uh,
well, we call it having them inside the tent, pissing out.
What's that?
It's equivalent of having them inside the tent, pissing out.
Oh yeah. It's well, a lot of people I think we hit on it. Some people just inherit the religion,
Well, I think 98% of people inherit their religion.
Yeah,
I would say less than 2% convert.
I find it odd that people would think the Bible was the perfect book. It's one of the most some portions of it are completely ridiculous,
Yeah.
Like these diet laws, those are stupid. They're not based on any real evidence, at all. They're just what some guy made up, and they wrote it down, and that makes it to, God is concerned about our diet. Why? What? For what reason?
Yeah.
Uh, why didn't God give us dietary laws or health laws? Or penicillin, things like
Yeah.
that. If it's an all-knowing, loving God, these are things discovered by science. You
Yeah.
know. Uh,
Well, here's a thought I came up with. I was talking to one of the guys on our email list, I think. There's a thought, right? If you look back from about the 1700s, sorry, back to the beginning, to the Roman times, whatever. There's only one woman that wasn't royalty or aristocracy that gets mentioned. That's Joan of Arc, right? All
yeah.
that time, so we're talking about 50% of the world's population, and not one of them made the history books when religion was the main, should we say, the thinking force, right?
That's because there was
When you get the Age of Enlightenment and we stop talking about how many angels can dance on a head of a pin and start talking about, people like Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson talking about the rights of man and freedom. Then we get authors like Jane Austen and the Bronte sisters. And when we stop talking about the nature of the Trinity and start talking about the nature of the atom, then we get people like Madame Curie. All of those women that we know from history that weren't aristocracy or royalty have been from the 1700s onwards, since the Age of Enlightenment.
Well, that's The Chalice and the Blade. Are you familiar with that book?
No.
Chalice and the Blade. Yeah, the woman's book that started the notion that the religious authorities got rid of women. They had earth-based religion, midwives and things like that. And they said that was witchcraft.
Well, I did hear at one point in time that the people that took over Jesus's work in Nazareth and in Israel were actually Jesus's sisters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I've not read any of these books that claim that women were written out of religion.
Yeah.
And they
were being written out of history.
The church leaders were all men.
Yeah.
And so they got rid of women, and they're saying when they go back to the original God, there were female gods, stuff like that. They got rid of that. I can't believe that guy tonight. You don't know him, Ed Rios. He's not terribly. He gave that book about trees. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Our discussion had nothing to do with trees.
Yeah.
And what that was a scientist, a naturalist, who had a theory. And she went out and conducted experiments. She was engaged in science.
Yeah.
And he says, well, there's more to it than you can. That was a scientific approach to truth. He didn't realize that. Everything she did was based on pure science.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with God.
No.
I guess you could say God designed trees, maybe, but everything.
Well, I think one of the major premises, I disagree with an awful lot of them, but the major one was I do apologize because my internet went down towards the end, and I have to come back on again. But when he said, "This is the question we all ponder and we all talk about. Actually, no. Once it's not like I hardly ever think about it. It's something that most people in Britain would hardly ever think about either.
Yeah, I don't. I had that too. I was gonna say that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't ever think about it, you know.
Yeah, the only time I ever think about it is when I meet a theist who tries to talk to me about this shit, you know?
My sister is very religious.
Yeah.
And my companion Lois was too, but I didn't get into it with them, you know, at all. You know. The Lithuanians are very Catholic. You know, extremely so. Even though they were the last country to be converted. But yeah,
I know there's that little island off the coast of India, isn't there? That guy got killed, that stupid bloody Christian went there. They've run a spear through his fucking head.
What's that?
There's that island off the coast of India where that stupid young Christian went to try and convert them and got killed.
Oh. Who was that now?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care to remember his name.
I knew a Jesuit that was in India, spent decades in India, and he didn't make one convert.
Yeah. Do you know what word we get from the Jesuits, Charlie?
What's that?
Propaganda. For the propagation of the faith.
I can believe it. I went to a Jesuit college, you know, as an undergrad.
Which one was that, Charlie?
Loyola.
Oh, okay.
Good school. Those Catholic students work pretty hard.
We're super close to Easter. I know this guy. He went to seminary college. And this is the joke that they came up with. It's the Last Supper, right? So Jesus is there with all the disciples. And Matthew gets the bill. So he passes it on to Luke. And he passes it on to meanwhile, James is hiding in the toilet because he knows what his brother is like. So Jesus gets a bill. He passes on to Matthew. He passes on to Luke. He passes on. Eventually, it all the way comes down to Judas at the end of the table. And Judas looks at the bill and says, where the fuck am I going to get 30 pieces of silver at this time of night?
You know, there's a gospel of Judas.
Well, there is a theory, and it's quite got a lot of weight behind it, that James traveled to India, the west coast of India, and there was a whole Christian sect in India that they apparently were the Portuguese pretty much destroyed, Catholics destroyed. But there were actually got more Gospels according to James, which allegedly was Jesus's brother.
I don't know anything about the Acts of the Apostles. I don't know where they went. You know.
I mean, no, there certainly is a Church of James in India that predates Catholicism.
Well, they were the fathers of the church. No, they made it up, you know.
Yeah.
As they went along. I've seen a collection, a reference book of the heresies of the early church. There are about 1,000 of them. All kinds of different beliefs, you know. And they dispelled 9,999 of them. You know,
Right.
people would believe anything, you know.
Well, one of the heresies is what he said. Pascal's wager is a heresy. To pretend to believe when you don't actually believe, that's a heresy.
Well, yeah. I don't remember it precisely. It's better
There are quite a lot. There's
better
not
to believe and win
no.
than be wrong and lose. You know.
Making the argument for religion as social as just as social control is a heresy.
You don't believe something because the consequences. You're not punished for believing things that are false, or just pointing out things that are false. You're not punished for that. You know.
Well, also, there's the problem of if your morality system is based on faith, then what happens if you lose that faith? Do you lose your morality? And also, you've got it's home for a chicken, home for a lamb, home for a sheep, and home for a lamb. If you've got a 17-year-old guy who thinks he's going to go to hell because he masturbates, and he knows he's going to go to hell because he can't stop masturbating, right? Because he's 17, right? What's to stop him borrowing his dad's car and taking it for a joyride? Because he's going to go to hell anyway.
Well, there's the theory that the secret aspect, if you trace Christianity, no one goes to hell.
Yeah.
I guess God is not going to put anyone to hell by creating imperfect beings. That's like saying a certain percentage are going to fail.
Yeah.
A good God would not do that.
So who says he's a good God?
All people are going to heaven.
But who says he's a good God?
Well, yeah, you're right. But a good God.
We're talking about, we're going around that like flooded the entire world, all the unborn children, everybody, the little babies, the little 5-year-olds, because he was pissed off.
Well,
we're talking about a guy who tortured a guy called Joe for a bet.
See, you're entirely correct. I had an old lady who came to the college, and she used to say, if there is a God, Kay used to say this, if there is a God, he's a very evil God.
Yeah.
And to some extent, she's quite true. I mean, he created a world. Look at the people that die due to flooding and hurricanes.
There's a worm that makes children blind.
What?
There's a worm that makes children blind.
Oh, yeah.
If God created the pretty flower, he also created that fucking worm.
Yeah, I mean, well, we fell from the Garden of Eden. I
think there's some kind of insect that falls to the ground and it infects another insect and grows in that other insect through all its life. God created tapeworms.
The other thing is, with religion, people believe in prayer. Prayer is very important to them. It's ceremonial worship.
Prayer is an act of desperation. It's not an act of faith.
You know,
But if you think about it logically, prayer is an act of desperation. Okay, let's assume, Charlie, or we have known each other a few years, but let's assume that we were neighbors and known each other for a long period of time, right? And we're sitting on each other's on my porch or your porch, whatever, right? I don't have to ask you if you want another drink, right? I see your, and it could be coffee. I'm not saying it necessarily is alcoholic, but it could be, right? I see your glass is empty. I don't need to ask. I just pour it because I know what you want, and I just give you another drink, right?
Yeah.
If God is omnipotent and omniscient, you shouldn't need to ask him.
Yeah.
So prayer is an act of desperation, not faith.
The other thing the Catholic Church recently, I believe, recognized that there may be life on other planets.
Yeah.
And are the aliens subject to the same rules of the Catholic Church?
I'll give him a chance, John. They've only just got one down to the idea that the earth revolves around the sun.
Do they go to church on Sunday? You know.
Well, here's the thing: if you can't eat chicken on a Friday, can you eat an egg?
Oh. Well,
and if an egg is not meat, why is abortion so wrong?
They got rid of all those rules. So the only time they have Friday rule is on meat is during Lent.
Yeah. So if you can have an egg, because an egg's not meat, why are they so down on abortion? Because if it's not chicken until it's hatched, then how can it be a baby until it's born?
Well, you know, one of the things, I don't know why they have become the outspoken opponents of abortion. I don't know why they took on that mantle, which is not going to win. Abortion is much too simple a procedure.
I'll explain it. Okay. Long time ago, I think it was in the 80s. There was a comic film in Britain called Leon the Pig Farmer, where this Jewish lad who was adopted discovers his real biological parents were actually Yorkshire pig farmers, right? So anyway, he develops a kosher pig, right? And apparently it is possible using genetic engineering, etc.
Oh, yeah.
To create a kosher pig, because you can have a pig that chews the cud and has a cloven hoof, right? Now, my ex, who's Jewish, asked the rabbi about this. And the rabbi said, if they produced a kosher pig, it still wouldn't be kosher because we've got to have something to go against. And that's the reason why they're so down on abortion. That's why they've been so down on sex. The Old Testament isn't down on sex the way Christianity is. I mean, read Song of Solomon. That's an incredibly sexy book.
I've heard. Yeah.
True.
The other thing about the Bible and the New Testament, we had the late Lee Hubble. He used to say the Bible is a very forgiving book. And what he meant by that was, if you wanted to find some passage, let's say you were against eating meat, you could turn the pages. One page would say you can eat meat, and then you could turn the few pages, and then you cannot eat meat.
Yeah.
So you could find whatever you're looking for in there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost as flexible as the American Constitution.
You know, you can find whatever you want.
Yeah, and it's almost as flexible as the American Constitution.
Actually, a lot of people don't realize the American Constitution is there's a lot of government. 90% of the government isn't really is existed, came into existence through what we call law, rule, and regulation.
Yeah.
And the Constitution itself is very generic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go to any detail.
No.
But the government is like the rules of Congress are quite extensive.
Yeah.
And even, I would by no means profess to know them all.
No.
But the handbook of Congress, you really have to study it to know all the ins and outs and procedures that they have and little rules. But I don't know about doing that without anything written down. I think a good handbook or manual is a good idea to reference everything.
Well, all agencies, the legislator makes the laws, but the implementation of the laws goes down to the agencies. For example, the Internal Revenue Service, IRS. The legislator makes tax laws, but how those are implemented precisely is up to the agency. And we got a tax code that's this thick. And other agencies, I believe, are the same way. They've got, as you're saying, Charles, and so, the legislature, it's just basically a guide.
Yeah. There's,
I mean, everybody goes on about the different branches of government. They don't seem to. You've got certainly in America, they don't mention the bureaucracy, which is a huge major part of any government.
That's like the labor laws are in Title V of the U.S. Code, but I never looked at our copy of it because there are handbooks and rule books, and like you said, Ernie, agencies had their own rule books, penalty guides and such. And
I was surprised recently, though. I watched a small documentary on the Ottomans and their bureaucracy, how good it was. They had whole tax laws and ways of working out the tax that were self-regulating, and they weren't exactly fair. Christians and Jews paid more tax than Muslims, and it was known that you're going to pay 5% more than Muslims or 10% more than that. It was fixed, so it wasn't a progressive persecution. They had a system of, it was the janissary system of adopting Christian children to be part of the military, but they could become part of the administration. They could become second only to the Sultan. It was an incredibly self-regulating bureaucracy, and that's what empire kills it. That's what kills any civilization or empire. It's a breakdown in the bureaucracy.
Yeah, people want uniformity. Well, that's the theory behind the Code of Hammurabi, was that he found there were different laws and penalties in different villages.
Yeah.
And wherever you went. And so he said, no, we have to have one uniform set of rules, penalties, and, so he was trying to achieve codification, codified. The only, they don't, well, yeah, well, somebody breaks the rules, so you make up a rule, you know. Somebody cheats, you know, so you got to make up a rule, you know. Uh, yeah, a lot of the government employees, you have to look up their own handbooks or manuals that are issued. You know, my job was to review them if they involve personnel policies and practices.
Yeah.
I had to look it over what their handbook says. All of them would have like time and attendance manuals, different thing, time and attendance issues, stuff like that. And I'd have to look it over, and once in a while we'd negotiate. You know, they were written a little too sternly sometimes, you know. But yeah, the handbooks, you have to know them, you know. Governments were very well structured. You don't realize how there's a lot of uniformity. You know, you can go across the country and you're going to find the same kind of government, you know. You know, there's no provincial applications, stuff like that, you know. Anyhow, guys, getting on 9 o'clock.
Anyway, before we go, Charlie, I've got to say, one of the things that's been coming out of your present troubles in America is, I don't know if you know, but there's been a huge rise in the in protest songs. I don't know if you've heard any of them.
Rise in what?
Protest songs.
Oh, protest songs.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll send you a good one. They are quite old. I'll send you one via email. Okay.
Yeah, I came across one on YouTube.
Which one was that?
I don't remember. I just listened to it. You know, the what Bob mentioned was there's a radio show late on Saturday night, like 10:30, folk music.
Yeah.
That's what the show he said I'm going to go listen to.
Yeah.
He likes that show. I used to listen to it all the time too.
Yeah.
And so we have a school of folk music here in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's well known. But that's what he was saying. Yeah, people write those songs to protest. They're not, once in a while, you know.
Well, there's been a huge rise in them. There's a guy called Jesse Wells, does a lot of them. He's quite popular. There's a lot of others. I'll send you one via email.
Yeah.
Woody Guthrie lives.
All right. Okay, guys. Take it easy. Get to church.
Guys. I'll see you next time.
Go to church.
I don't want to look at a guy in a dress recreating a blood sacrifice in front of a statue of a guy in a loincloth being tortured to death.
Go to church, you sinners.
I don't want to see a guy in a dress giving people blood and flesh.
All right. Adios.
Good night.
Good night.